You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Talk Star Wars is a production of Emotionally 14. For fantastic podcasts, video series, blog posts, and much more, visit us on the web at emotionally14.com and enjoy content for the permanently teenaged. Hello there, and welcome to episode 197 of the Talk Star Wars podcast from Emotionally14.com. I'm your host, as always, Rob Wade, and I'm joined by the Chewie to my Han. It's Brad Harmer-Barnes.
I'm the Falcon to your Millennium. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. You all right?
Yeah, I don't really know what that meant, but my brain said it anyway.
No, fair enough. I mean, sometimes brains are like that.
Brain.
Yeah, brains are fun like that. Yeah. I am... well, first of all, I'd like to thank anybody who reached out to make sure I was okay, because obviously I tweeted that you were busy and I was unwell, and I got some very kind messages from people asking if I was okay, and I was absolutely fine. It was just a cold. It was just it just hit me particularly hard the day before, and I was just, I figured it was probably good to have a sleep. Yeah, so I did.
I made a birthday cake.
Yeah, you did, and it was very well done indeed.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, turned out great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
mostly my wife. I helped carry icing and stuff.
I got involved. I've been known.
Much like the actual baby, is I was in the room when it arrived.
I was certainly in the room at several stages in development. Yeah, at least two.
Yeah, make sure we blood bomb on it just didn't get knocked over. But
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
an obscure Crazy Train reference.
Yes, of course, man. I forgot all about that. Yeah, that whole episode where I get Dad's playing to for 2 hours. It's all fun and games. Yeah. So, a couple of tiny bits to talk about. But I have, in the absence of anything meaty, I've come up with something. But what we'll do is we've got a couple of emails from people, and I'll read those out, and and then we'll go from there. How's that sound? Yeah,
sounds good to me.
Excellent. Right. So our first email is a Resistance roundup, one of two. So our first Resistance roundup, courtesy of Vesuvi.
Woo.
Tonight, Disney gave rare back-to-back episodes, both related, of course. Starting with The New World, just after leaving Bucket and CB-23 in a hangar, Kaz feels some notable turbulence. He runs into Niku and asks what's going on. Apparently, Captain Dozer has found a low-value world called Eos Prime that he thinks would be good for the Colossus to call home.
This just sounds like a series of euphemisms.
He just finds some notable turbulence, if you catch my drift. He's found a low-value world.
He's got his bucket, if you know what I mean.
Oh. As the Aces survey the spattering of islands, they view what seem to be decimated villages, if you catch my drift. In no place safe, Kaz, reflecting on recent events, decides to leave the Colossus and rejoin the main resistance. Norath sends a holographic communique with the coordinates for the rendezvous. Just as Kaz leaves Eosian atmosphere, a First-Order orbital probe detects him and sends telemetry to a nearby Resurgent-class battlecruiser, then disables the fireball. The rest, you'll have to wait for. Well, we say that, but then, of course, we didn't record last week, so we don't have to wait much for the next one.
We at Fox Stew again.
Indeed. Rebuilding the Resistance opens with 4 X-Wings coming out of hyperspace en route to the Colossus. The squad's leader is Veneza Dozer, accompanied by her astromech, Torch. Norath is another member, as well as High Scion, voiced by Sam Witwer, a character we've not seen since the first episode of the first season. Love a bit of Sam Witwer.
Absolutely, and his crazy scream.
A crazy scream. We were sharing a copy of that today, because there was one that was doing the rounds on Twitter of Dave Filoni actually bringing it out of him during the the Rebels VO session. Yeah, what's really impressive about that take is obviously in the cartoon, Maul throws his head back and screams into the sky. Yeah. Now Sam Witwer, of course, being as he's on a microphone, can't do that, but he manages to do it without doing that, which is nothing short of incredible. Really is fantastic.
That dive bomb he does, it's literally like he's got a Floyd Rose in his neck.
Yeah, it's mad how good it is.
I've said to you before, there are extreme metal singers who wish they could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could, as a
party piece,
Yeah, as somebody who's kind of, been interested in voice acting and stuff when I was younger.
Just do it outside Ewan McGregor's house all day long.
Absolutely. As somebody who's, like I say, who wished they'd been in a position to do that in the past, as a sort of an aspiring voice actor and things, it's very enviable.
Yeah.
Vesuvi continues, Jade Squadron's mission is to rally additional support from the Aces to escort some troop transports off of Dantooine. Naturally, it can't go as smoothly as planned. And the rest you'll just have to wait for. But this time we actually do, because obviously, can't really help that. So we had a message from Mark Airy from the Star Wars Toy Podcast, who wrote in last episode. Just going to read this one. Hi, guys. Thank you for reading my email out.
You're welcome.
I totally meant what... hang on, let me just reword this. It's kind of not... I can't quite read it as intended. I totally meant what you said. So... what I think is meant is, what he wrote an email that was kind of slightly ambiguous.
Interpreted him correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. Well put. Feeling something extra would be great, and wanting a movie wiped from existence are two very different things. I have plenty of things I know I feel could make the movies better. Luke turning to Ghost Yoda as he pulls the X-Wing out of the water and saying, "Told you I could do it." And I want a Dr. Aphra Disney Plus series. People demanding a Solo 2 won't work because more people said Solo wasn't wanted, and the powers that be only see box office numbers. It's an interesting point. There's a really good discussion on the latest Tumbling Saber about the box office stuff, and they quite rightly point out that, $1 billion, which is obviously what The Rise of Skywalker has recently hit, is a good result by any standard in movie making. Yeah. However, is that good enough? Do you know what I mean? So, considering it's the last one in the saga, it's the last one in the trilogy. Trilogies don't historically drop film on film, whereas these ones have. Because Force Awakens obviously hit $2 billion, which is exceptional.
Well, my understanding is that the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, the first one was a megabucks, the second one was a drop-off, and the third one did better than the second one, not as good as the first one, is my understanding.
Yeah, I think that's broadly how it's gone, except in this case. Because in this case, it was
steadily down.
$2 billion from The Force Awakens, which is exceptional and a hard act to follow.
Yeah, but man, the marketing behind that was just insane.
Yeah, it really was. It was everywhere, wasn't it? I mean, you think about... I was watching it just before we came on, Starkiller Base Undercover Boss. Like, you don't...
Brilliant. Yeah.
Just things like that. There's all sorts of stuff just plugging Star Wars into the sort of pop culture mainstream.
Yeah.
From weird sources.
Yeah, Force Awakens infiltrated pop culture in a way that none of the others did.
Yeah, they just don't seem to have had that landing, have they? They haven't stuck it as much.
No.
But, yeah, the discussion on Tumbling Saber was really good about how, it is unusual for the films to go down, to go fantastic down. Mm-hmm. Because usually they go fantastic down, better.
Yeah, okay.
So Last Jedi obviously 1.3 billion, and then Rise of Skywalker has just touched $1 billion. And given the drop off in theaters, it seems like that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, that's again $1 billion for any movie. And you think about Disney's slate this previous year. I think they had 7 of the 10 highest grossing movies. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, totally.
It's a good result by any standard. But as the guys rightly question, is that a good result for the last film in the one that they've built up to be the end of a 42-year saga? It's who's to say, right? Obviously, like I say, Tumbling Saber's new episode is good about that one. They also have a nice discussion about Taika Waititi because he's being sort of rumbled as a director. I think he can make it work.
I've seen a few of his films, and I think he could certainly do a fun Star Wars movie like Solo.
Yeah. I think he would be a good pick for something like that. Yeah, I think my feeling on it is I don't know that the problem would be him not being allowed to do it. I think the problem would be he would turn it down.
Possibly,
because I think if you think about even the fans who've enjoyed this trilogy, and there have been plenty.
Yes, totally.
Even the ones who kind of enjoyed everything all the way through. As in, unequivocally, have been how best to put this? Hasn't always been plain sailing for the directors. Because Colin Trevorrow
get kind of dragged over the coals a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Colin Trevorrow.
Ron Howard walked away okay.
Everybody loves Ron Howard. I think it's just impossible to. It's impossible to dislike that guy. He's just delightful. It's. I think because, like I say, I've always felt, and I was saying it at the time, that I felt that Colin Trevorrow just got really unfairly treated by fandom.
Oh God, yeah.
And they were really quick to kind of sell him down the river. And I knew that wouldn't happen to Rian Johnson, even if Knives Out had bombed. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't. And by all accounts, it's fantastic. And I really want to see that film. Yeah. Because it looks so up my street. It might as well be my house.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a Rob movie.
Yeah, exactly. So Mark continues, I agree with you that something should have been put in The Last Jedi about Palpatine, but do you think Episode 9 should have gone down the Harry Potter route and made it into 2 movies? Stretch the story out and build up to the Emperor reveal. Anyway, thanks for the amazing content and keep it up. Darth Mark from the Star Wars Toy Cup podcast. Incidentally, for those keeping score at home, the auto replies to this are, yeah, I can do that. Sure. And no, sorry. Just in case you were keeping track. I don't know if people take that sort of thing interesting. I've had some fantastic kind of auto responses in the past, and it's just, some of them are just, I remember once I got one from my, now wife, then partner, maybe fiance. I'm trying to remember what stage we were on the timeline. And it was, she wrote, I'll see you there at 8. And one of the responses was, you better. It's like, wow, I can't send that. It's like, do you know this is my wife to be, one way or another? Obviously, I would say depending on the timeline, I might not have been sure about that, but I'm pretty sure I was. But anyway, Mark, thank you very much for emailing in. I'm glad we interpreted your question in the spirit it was intended, and that's all she wrote for emails this week. Now, say a couple of small news pieces. So obviously, a Clone Wars trailer dropped.
Yes.
It looks pretty cool.
It does.
It looks very, Clone Wars is a cool show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get to watch it a week earlier than we originally heard, because the announcement this week was that Disney Plus will be coming to the UK on the 24th of March.
Oh, okay.
So a week ahead of schedule. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they've dropped that as a piece of news. I don't know. Maybe they just managed to wangle a week out of the contract signings. Just, sometimes they bring these things up,
Yep.
I think Star Wars, one of the movies, at least in the sequel trilogy, got a cinema bump to the day before.
Oh, okay.
And we got Endgame, I think, slightly earlier than we were originally planned as well.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, but, that's cool when it happens. It's nice when it's that way round, isn't it? Rather than being delayed, like, by, say, 4 months.
Oh, back in the day, you used to have to wait 6 months for a movie to arrive from America.
Exactly. Or, you used to have to wait up to a year for a VHS.
Oh, man.
Do you remember? Now you can just...
Dark times.
I literally, right, and these, other services are available. And in fact, I think they've all got sales on. I bought The Dead Don't Die on iTunes this week for $2.99.
Brilliant.
For I don't think it's a 4K. That's the only thing, which is,
who
fine.
wouldn't love a Bill Murray, Adam Driver buddy cop movie?
Exactly. This is it, right? So, I'm well made up with that. But, there's plenty of, I think, as far as I understand it, all of the movie providers, all the digital ones, have got some sort of offer on, because I've picked up Dead Don't Die, Mortal Engines, because that movie really intrigued me from the trailer. Okay. There was something about it that just hooked me. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Sometimes a film can just hook me. Something like
Peter Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah. Equilibrium did that to me. The Christian Bale Guncutter movie.
I remember it very well.
I remember watching the trailer and just thinking, man, that looks cool.
That's a screenplay by Peter Jackson. It's not actually directed by him.
Oh, there you go. And then I bought Into the Spider-Verse as well.
What a
that's
film.
$2.99 on iTunes. Other services are available, and they all seem to have it at $2.99 or thereabouts. So yeah, if you're into your movies, I believe by the time, actually having said that, by the time this goes out, you might just about have time to get some bargains. But if you're a digital movie fan, go to your store of choice and you can absolutely get some belters. And a lot of it's new stuff as well, which is pretty impressive. And now I'm mulling over the entire run of Battlestar Galactica for under £20. I do rather like that remake series. It's rather good. So, here's what I propose in terms of let's have some fun with this, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's no secret, I think, to anybody who's been following Star Wars Twitter that it's not the most fun place to be right now if you're, say, not interested in war.
Yeah, it's a
madhouse.
So they say, yeah.
Even people who I think are correct are going about it the wrong way.
I mean,
everybody's very confrontational right now. Even people I normally would associate with being kind of better than that,
I've got a name. Yeah, I mean, one tries to shy away from the term dumpster fire.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly on the air. But it is kind of it's gone more that way.
Yeah.
But we are, I think, not unique by any means in terms of staying out of the fray, but I think we're quite good at staying out of the fray. And I thought what we could do, which would be nice and fun and wholesome, is I've got a bunch of questions about the films. It's not. I make that sound like a trivia. It's not. This is purely a subjective exercise. I've got a bunch of generic questions that are not connected to the film specifically. They're just questions about Star Wars. And what I thought we'd do is we'd go through the films and answer those questions about favourite things. So that's the theme of the episode. Is going to be our Star Wars favourites.
Sounds banging to me.
I think this is it, right? I mean, this ultimately, plus also it's been a slow week and I haven't been able to come up with anything different. And this inspiration hit me about an hour before recording. I thought, it'd be nice. Yeah. It'd be nice to talk about stuff we like. It's good.
Yeah. Talking Star Wars is what we do.
Exactly. These are both clues. The clue is in the name. It could not be more clear that this is happening. So, how do you want to order it? Do you want to go release order or chronological or?
Chronological.
Chronological. All right, let's do it. So we'll start then with The Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah.
Well, hold that thought because, there are some generic questions that are going to find their way later that maybe Knights of the Republic might factor into your answers. Who knows?
Who knows? Who
Indeed.
cares?
So,
any other questions?
So, Phantom Menace.
Yes.
So these are the questions I'm going to be asking you for each for each film. So favourite character, I'm going to be asking you that. Favourite scene in the movie. Mm-hmm. Favourite piece or use of music.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be, your favourite piece. Also, it could, because also I figured that there might be films like Solo and maybe Rise of Skywalker where we might not know the names of those sort of pieces. That's cool. But the piece, you probably remember how it was used in the film. Yeah,
I gotcha.
And then favourite line from the film.
Okay, cool.
And then I've got a bunch of generic catch-all Star Wars questions for the end. And we have also got, at this point, it looks like 11, maybe 12 films. Let me just... 11 films. No, that's not right. Hang on. What have I missed out?
It's 12 including the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's 12. I know I've done wrong. I put Rogue One in, but I actually meant to... I started writing Rise of Skywalker. That's not what happened. What ended up happening was Rogue One just got mixed up as, I've written down Rise of Skywalker, but I'd actually by that logic, I'd actually just written Rise of.
Yeah, okay.
So, 12 films. So this, 48 questions essentially. And then half a dozen generic ones about Star Wars in general.
Okay,
and I figure, it might be half an hour, it might be 3 hours.
Might be a week. Who knows?
I'm happy. I'm kind of pretty content either way. So
it's true.
We're going to do Star Wars favorites. So this is our 197 is going to be about our favorite stuff from the Star Wars universe. So Phantom Menace, favorite character. Away we go.
Oh man,
Armin. Who's Armin?
Armin Tazarian. Favorite character in Phantom Menace. Not the ginger kid who jumps up on top of a speeder and says, "Hey, let's go play ball," because he is the worst actor in Star Wars and does not get anywhere near enough stick for it.
I know there's a particular pathology about you and him, isn't there?
I just don't understand how so many people get absolutely slaughtered for their performances in Star Wars, and he seems to have just coasted by.
I think it's just he's not important enough.
Yeah, but I feel like he should be called up on it more, is what I'm saying.
I feel you. I mean, I understand. I get that, like, you know, having one line shouldn't preclude you from criticism if it's an especially bad line.
I feel it's got to be Qui-Gon.
I would be inclined to go towards Qui-Gon.
Because he's... Not only is he cool, not only is he Liam Neeson.
He's Liam Neeson, obviously.
But it's almost like he's the first character to notice that the Jedi aren't always right.
Yeah, that's kind of my sense.
That continues through the rest of the whole saga.
Yeah.
Is obviously, if we're talking order of production, the Jedi are very much built out to be the good guys, and the Sith are very much built out to be the bad guys. And it's actually done quite subtly, which is not something the prequel trilogy is very good at.
When it does it does it well.
Yeah, and obviously that carries through even through into Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. You get that. Even Luke says in Last Jedi about how the Jedi were flawed. Mm-hmm. But Qui-Gon is the very first intimation you get of that, and it's not outright confrontational. It's just a little, no, I'll train the boy then.
Yeah, like if you don't let me,
self-belief over believing in the Jedi.
Yeah, it's like if you're not happy to do it yourselves, then I'll do it. That's not a problem. Yeah, I'll do it. It's fine. I know it's not a problem.
Neeson.
And much as I do love Ewan McGregor in the prequels, I don't think Phantom Menace is his best performance by any stretch. I think that.
No, that's fair.
I mean, perhaps we'll come to it. You know, perhaps he'll turn up in one of our later questions.
Totally.
But
I mean, I love Maul, but again, it's not because of Phantom Menace.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Qui-Gon is, I suppose, having said that, with Qui-Gon, a lot of the reason I think you've outlined as to why you like him, and one of the reasons I like him, is because he's, like you say, he's that first kind of hint that the Jedi are fallible, but actually a lot of that is kind of has been built up since the film's release. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Through connected materials and stuff like that to kind of reinforce that. It's in there because, you know, we've talked about, and I think quite rightly so, that it's not, you know, you shouldn't have to go and read the connected materials to make sense of things, right? But I think that you can certainly make the argument quite without any problem that those threads of Qui-Gon doesn't believe in the Jedi outright. He doesn't just unquestioningly believe in their sanctity and piousness. He's actually a little bit more critical than that of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I think that's certainly in there in dialogue, and there's no problems kind of finding it if you don't have to look very hard.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would totally agree. I think Qui-Gon is the superior Phantom Menace character. Honorable mention. Because I also didn't think much of, like, it's not that I don't think much of Palpatine in this, but there's not much to him in the film.
He is the Phantom Menace, isn't he?
Yeah, but like, there's not much to that kind of. He's not in there much. He's just kind of. He's deliberately.
I mean, that's it. Phantom Menace does have quite flat characters. Unfortunately, all characters not showcasing their best in Phantom Menace. Like I say, I mean, Padme is a great character, but not necessarily in Phantom Menace. Maul's a great character, not necessarily in Phantom Menace. I mean, C.O. Bibble gets a chance to shine more than a lot of the main characters do.
Yep. And and also, not for nothing, but let's not forget, right, that C.O. Bibble, that performance, that career-defining gravitas, is all a Trade Federation trick.
Yes, true.
It's it's a trap. Send no reply.
Yeah.
It's like, what if nobody ever questions, like, what if you're wrong? And he's just like, they are not coming back to me. I'm sorry. I have tried everything. And they just like,
yeah. He killed his two children in front of him. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Kick his.
Got dark.
Yeah. I was about to make it darker, but I'm glad we pulled that back. Favorite scene?
Favorite scene in Phantom Menace?
Yeah.
I mean, the Boonta Reeve is still pretty great, isn't it?
Boonta Reeve is fantastic. I still remember going to see Phantom Menace at the cinema. Now, back then, this was when, you'll understand this reference, when Screen 8 and Cineworld was a £20 a head job.
I saw the special edition of A New Hope in there, yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like you can just go in there for normal price, and so on a Tuesday, that's like a £5.
Yeah.
But back then, not only was 20 quid a fair bit of money in comparison for cinema prices, but it was like one of those ones where you got waiter service if you wanted it.
Yeah.
And we were so close to the front of the screen that the Boonta Reeve was particularly uncomfortable because we were basically in that race.
Yeah, brilliant.
Didn't even win. Anakin came in ahead of me. But yeah, The trick is for me, it's between that and Duel of the Fates because it has to be.
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah. For like, see, a Duel is one of my favourites in any of the films. I think
there's a lot of really good storytelling in that as well. Like, obviously, you've got kind of Obi-Wan having to sort of rein in his reflex of I want to mess this guy up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. And just such a powerful piece of music as well.
Yeah. But I'm going to force you to choose.
Okay.
Because that's how we're doing this.
It's got to be Boon Tarif.
Boon Tarif?
I think. Yeah. It's also fact there's no music in it. Yeah, I love John Williams, but it's just Ben Burt doing his thing for like 10 solid minutes.
Yeah, it is pretty impressive how the soundscape and that stuff, with the exception of the commentator who is like...
Who does, grip my stiff.
I love Greg Proops, right? I do. But I think... What kind of slightly irks me about it is what you've outlined before, where it's like when the real world blends into Star Wars in too obvious a way.
Yeah, it's like an active parody, isn't it? It's not just something that's, it's not like the Mos Eisley Cantina is like a dive bar, because we have the dive bars.
Yes.
In the real world, it's not like that. It's an active spoof.
Yes. Yeah, there's much more. It's the thing of like, we've talked about how some of the sequel trilogy stuff is a bit ham-fisted and there's less subtlety than in previous films. It's moments like that where they bleed through the cracks and it's like, that's too far. Yeah. Just that little bit too far, in terms of stepping the other side of the line of whatever's, I don't know what the word is, but like a line where it's silly. It's just silly.
That's it. Stop it, silly.
Yes, stop it. You got, no, stop it. But but we're sticking with favourites. So favourite scene, Boon Tarif.
My favourite's Boon Tarif. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go Duel of the Fates because
I
do. It's also the fact that I really like when Star Wars is doing multiple things going on at the same time, and I really like the way the three different battles are edited together. Yeah, it's really well done.
It works really well.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really well done. So. Favorite piece or use of music?
In Phantom Menace specifically?
Yeah.
That's got to be Duel of the Fates.
I think that's fair.
It's just, I remember when it came out, this is back in the time when movies used to have singles to promote them, and it was almost like each of a prequel trilogy had like a hit single from it almost. And Duel of the Fates was that thing was spun on VH1 constantly.
It was weird.
For a piece of classical music. It was amazing. Yeah. And so I used to watch VH1 because I was when I was 15, I was actually 48. And
well, it was a good video, and it used to get even on the sort of younger skewing music channels. There was the one. Do you remember the Box? Yeah. So there's a music channel. So for those who aren't familiar, the Box was a music channel where people could call or text a premium rate phone number and pick a song, basically like a jukebox, hence the name. Yeah. And they had some really weird stuff that used to do the rounds in heavy rotation. There was a song called "Castles in the Air" by Shaggy and Asuka, who was a Japanese pop duo, and this video was like this really beautifully elaborate anime. Okay. And it was, to me, that was like my first exposure to anime in any form. Oh, really? Okay. In talking, I guess, 97, 98. Yeah. So I'm probably sort of 14, 15, I guess, by this point. But, the other one was the music video for Duel of the Fates, which was literally just little bits from the film and a choir.
Production shots, yeah.
Just production shots of like, a bit like, the sort of the Live Aid single recording things, where it's like with Les Paul Young. Yeah, which you can't have everything, but it's
Bananarama sneaked in though.
They did, which was weird. Yeah, they're just like just if we just look like we're singing as well, they'll be none the wiser, and it worked. Yeah. Kudos to them. Yeah, but it felt kind of nice as well because it was in a period where the marketing for Star Wars, because it was the first movie for 15 years. Was enormous. Like, it was everywhere again.
It was also just kind of showcase how much John Williams had grown as an artist in those years.
Yeah, I think it's just
because his early stuff is great. Jaws is still one of the greatest movie soundtracks ever.
Just again because of subtlety.
Yeah, it's And John Williams has always been great, but you could just see him you could compare those two and you could see how much he'd evolved. He never stopped. He never became a parody of himself. He was always getting better.
Yeah, exactly. He's obviously one of the true all-time greats, and I think that's undisputed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he is fantastic. It's, it's hard to pick. I think there's only like one movie which I think has a slightly less good soundtrack, and even then it's still good. It's just it just feels like a bit of a greatest hits compilation.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there's but this is still really good because it's John Williams. Yeah. So whatever, right?
Yeah.
Favorite line?
I mean, there's lots of lines of battle droids.
Okay.
They're pretty well known. There's like a line of guards waiting outside Theed Palace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Oh, right.
Sorry, it just took me a little while there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't. The thing is, this kind of. I feel like there's going to be.
What line do you quote most
from episode 1?
Yeah, it's always a bigger fish for me.
That is a popular one, certainly in our circles.
Yes. I think there are two of them.
I think I quite often say, "I'll try spinning." That's a good trick. Yeah. And I say it with a certain sense of irony, but at the same time,
that's why you got asked to leave at the staff meeting.
This is true. Yeah. Well, that was one of the reasons.
Your own disciplinary.
Yeah, I know, right? Because of how much
there's always bigger fish comes out a lot. Now there are two of them comes out a lot, especially at gaming nights where another monster pops up or something. It's getting out of hand. There are two of them.
Yeah, I do tend to find myself. It doesn't tend to be in a positive light. I tend to find myself ripping it out if they've gone up the ventilation shaft, just because it's delightfully absurd.
Yeah, yeah. There must be other ones I do. Some tip of my tongue is one I do. Oh, why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always right there, but whatever.
Yeah,
it just seems a bit harsh, but whatever.
That's not fair. Kyle's been here for a year now. It's cool.
He's part of the furniture.
Yeah,
seriously, I hang my coat on him.
He's so small.
I know. It's just really easy. I'm trying to think beyond that.
There's a bit I really like at Qui-Gon's funeral.
Yes.
Where I think it's Mace Windu says, but who has destroyed the master or the apprentice.
Yes. And then they cut to...
It just changes the focus on Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I wish everyone could have been there the first time my wife rewatched that after having seen Revenge of the Sith.
I love this. I love this about Star Wars. The fact that... Well, you tell it better than I do.
Well, yeah, she just was the only person I think who managed to get through to Revenge of the Sith without realising that Palpatine and Darth Sidious were the same person.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they're played by the same bloke.
Yep. And, it's still the same bloke from Jedi.
It's still the same bloke from all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. All of them.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that is a good one, actually.
Yeah. The other one as well, which I thought of, is... At last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
Yeah.
At last we will have revenge.
Bit of Seraphim Witch, love Sam Witwer, but...
I do, yeah, this is the thing. I love Seraphim Wicks. Almost walked into him once by accident.
Yeah.
I just came around the corner and he was walking up the road and...
Yeah. No, lovely.
He was very nice about it.
Yeah.
I said, oh, sorry, and just walked past, and then I went... But I have a rule.
Look around you.
I have a rule. Both seasons. I have a rule. I don't bother famous people.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, just because, if they're on lunch break, I'd be annoyed if somebody did that to me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about annoyed, but I'd be like, yeah, hi. But, I think that's fair enough.
My wife has a thing of trying to take photos of them surreptitiously, and that makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it's actually worse in a way.
Especially if I don't recognise who it is.
Oh.
And she has to say stuff to me like, can you stand there so it looks like I'm taking a picture of you and not Michael Sheen?
Oh, right, okay. I've walked past Michael Sheen.
Yeah, I think he just lives up that way.
I think, yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, obviously I'm there every day for work and, actors, thing about actors.
You're kind of Hoban way, I think we were.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's not far off where I was. I think a lot of the time, obviously, I'm around sort of within walking distance where I work from a lot of theatres. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if somebody's doing a theatrical run of something, they're probably around, And like you say, sometimes they just live there as well. So,
Yeah.
So that'll happen. But, yeah. I think the one I'd make an exception for, it's never happened to me, but Eddie Izzard I'd probably bother.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I love that man.
I bothered Griff Rhys-Jones.
Okay.
Because I stopped him asking for directions. It's only halfway through him talking to me I realised it was Griff Rhys-Jones.
Yeah. Did you say, you're Griff Rhys-Jones?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I think initially he thought that's why I'd stopped him.
Oh, okay.
And then he was like, oh, yeah, sure, you just go down there. And or whatever the directions were he gave, it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt awful.
Yeah, I bet. My favourite meeting a celebrity story is my sister. I would imagine she wouldn't mind me telling this story because it's quite funny. She went to some sort of Virgin Megastore style signing for either CKY or Jackass.
Okay.
And Bam Margera was there.
Yeah, okay.
And she walked up to him and said, I'm decided I'm not going to say anything in case I say something stupid. Mm-hmm. And he went, cool. And then she walked away and went, that qualifies.
Yeah.
Bless her. She is funny. So there we go. So we've done, okay, so that's the first movie. So we've covered, so favourite character, we've both agreed Qui-Gon Jinn is unanimously Talk Star Wars favourite Phantom Menace character. Seems fair enough. Favourite scene for you is Bunta Eve, and I've gone for Duel of the Fates. Favourite piece or use of music, we've both agreed Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, absolutely.
And favourite line, there are about 6.
No, there's loads.
Yeah,
we can't whittle that down to a single one.
I might go with the last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi because it's just there's just so much kind of like there's so much force, for lack of a better expression, in that one line. And it's just the only thing he says, and it's just fantastic. Now, obviously, Sam Witwer has taken that and run with it and made him say even cooler stuff, but nevertheless,
let's forget Kylo Ren's theme is in Phantom Menace.
So it is, yeah. I can never remember. I always forget that.
It's just as Amidala's ship is landing on Tatooine. I think it's just an ominous piece of music, and he forgot he'd already used it. So 3 years later, so it's just an errant Kylo Ren theme in Phantom Menace.
There could be some subtle difference as well. It's hard to tell sometimes. These things, you know.
Yeah, it's close enough that it makes you go, "That's Kylo Ren."
Yeah. It's like, but somebody like David W. Collins, I'm sure, would probably be a better place to sort of say.
Well, if he wants to come on the show, he's more than welcome, and he knows it, and he knows he's just got to apologise for what he did.
Legal disclaimers from Talk Star Wars here. I'm going to drop in to remind everybody that he didn't do anything. And, you know, just in case, because I say we're talking about like cool stuff and positivity and things we like, and everybody's just like, wait, what's this? There's beef. It's like, no. Why can't? Oh, we're so awkward. Why do we keep doing this? All right, so this one might be short. Attack of the Clones.
It was my cheese, David.
That's your favourite line from Attack on the Clones?
No, sorry.
Attack on the Clones?
What was your favourite character, was it first?
Favourite character first, yep.
Oh, man.
That's what I mean about might be short.
A lot of good characters.
There are some. I think this is. I actually think in some ways,
Tyrannus probably.
Dooku's on the list. He has to be, right? Yeah. He's so cool.
Yeah,
he's just effortless. And he's right,
and
and he's telling the truth.
He gets a pass for being Christopher Lee as well.
Yeah, but he's telling the truth when he's saying all the evil things. It's true. Yeah, which is awesome. It's just there's a lot of. I think there's something about any character that like kind of almost exposes the Jedi. In a way, in the prequels, get some sort of additional bump in their coolness. Yeah, I think there's something. It's something like that. I can't quite put my finger on what it amounts to, but it's something along the lines of them kind of exposing the cracks in the armor. Yeah, is enough to be like, yeah, you get a cool point for that. Well done. Yeah, which I'm sure they're desperate for from us. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, they're only human at the end of the day. Yeah. Favorite scene
from Attack of the Clones? Oh man, I mean, Geonosis is pretty awesome.
Geonosis would be my pick. It's superb. I like the fight between Jango Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, I don't dislike that. It's a nice little, you know, it tells exactly the story it needs to tell, right? Which is he's obviously actually guilty after all, which is what you've already figured this out by this point, but it's just one of those ways of just like confirming it. Yeah. So there's that. It tells a few story things very subtly. See, I mean, I also Attack of the Clones doesn't tie together very well, but the individual scenes are all really good. That's the thing. There's a really good movie in there. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that just kind of detracts. There's a lot of stuff. It needs to be there, but it doesn't need to be. This is there. Every scene can be divided into. With Attack of the Clones, each scene is either
necessary or interesting, and very few of them are both.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, actually. I've never thought of it in those terms, but that makes a lot of sense.
Contrary to popular opinion, I'm quite clever.
You have your moments, for sure. Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, as long as I can do it on a Thursday night, that's all we have to say.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's not all I care about. It's like,
let's not kid ourselves.
So we're going with Geonosis, or are we going with? We don't have to. We don't have to have the same one.
I know we don't. We don't have to. We don't. We often don't. Yeah. I mean, definitely not Dexter's Diner. I think we can agree that.
Yeah, I think we can agree that that's not the optimum use of film telling. It serves its purpose.
Yeah,
it's interesting because it sort of sets up this whole thing of like, that there's characters in the galaxy like Maz Kanata almost who've got that sort of, worldly, been around the block, know a bunch of stuff, and actually within 5 minutes I think 5-10 minutes max they pit him, Dexter, against the Jedi archives. And it's like this kind of, again, it's that little thing of seeding the whole thing that something's rotten in the behind the scenes on Coruscant. And obviously we see that realized in Revenge of the Sith, but it's this whole element of like something's amiss, and it's another one that builds that weaves that thread.
I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to double down on Jango Obi-Wan from when they first meet and you have that kind of awkward conversation in Jango's lobby through to, the Sonic Mines, I guess.
Oh, the Sonic Mines are so good.
The Sonic Mines is the most Star Wars thing ever. A sonic weapon in space. It's the most Star Wars thing ever. And you guys came along and complained about a bomber in Last Jedi. There was a sonic weapon in space.
But I tell you what,
I love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's just really well executed.
Yeah.
And the whole sound
noise as well.
The whole sound in space thing, right? I realise there are people who kind of pick holes in that, and not without reason. But I was talking to a friend of the show, Omer, the other day.
I bet him, yes.
Yeah, and he was saying the way he kind of looks at those things, much like when they say things like Godspeed Rebels or I'll see you in hell, all that stuff, he doesn't see it as like, oh, that's a mistake because it's not in Star Wars. He sees it as we're just hearing it in English because it's represented to the audience,
the closest.
They're just speaking Star Wars language, whatever that is, and you're because otherwise it would be unintelligible fully from start to finish. So for the purposes of things like sound effects in space, it's just you're not going to know what's going on otherwise.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I know you get it, but
yeah, but I'm an idiot.
Well, no, again, yes, contrary to popular belief. Contrary to the self-belief of a martyr, it's you have your moments of clarity and brilliance.
Yeah, I love you too.
Favorite piece or use of music? Now we've established sound effects, but
it's Across the Stars. Across the Stars is not only my favorite piece in Attack of the Clones. It's not only my favorite piece of Star Wars music. It is my favorite piece of classical music. Full stop.
It is very good.
It's superb.
Yeah.
It's layered. It's overused in audiobooks, but it's layered. It's Wagnerian in its motifs. It has exactly the same chord sequence as the main theme. You can actually layer them over each other, and they do follow the same chord sequence. It's almost like Anakin and Padme's love is what ties the whole Star Wars saga together.
I mean, it's a huge factor in the way the galaxy plays out, right?
Absolutely. No, Across the Stars by an absolute country mile for me.
Okay, nice. I'm gonna go with use of music for this one because I very much like Across the Stars. It was at my wedding.
It was at mine as well.
Yeah, indeed. So we have that in common too.
Yeah.
So
wasn't even the same wedding.
I know. Yeah. Again, contrary to popular belief, we are not married. Yeah. We just bicker like we are. Mine,
it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine is a use of music.
Okay.
And there's a really wonderful moment just before the Battle of Geonosis where Mace Windu comes through the Colosseum, like from the back of the Colosseum to the front.
Right.
And it's just the way it builds to that lightsaber across the throat of Jango by Mace Windu. It's just masterful. And it's a combination of John Williams and George just aligning. It happens, it happens quite a lot, let's be fair. But when it does happen and it really hits home, it's just perfection. And that particular, that little bit is just, it always sticks. Good. That kind of, that whole thing. Obviously, the Battle of Geonosis is fantastic.
Yeah.
But that particular bit, just building up to that, and then it suddenly kicks into the battle, the big battle.
Yeah.
It's just great. The thing about that film, it's my second least favourite of all of them, but there's still some stuff in there that just will make me mark out like an absolute tool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Doesn't make for full marks like some of the films, but very few films really do. It's like that in Event Horizon.
Accept that now.
Yeah, it's like that in Event Horizon. But favourite line? I have a pick for this straight away.
Now go on, you do yours then.
We retransmitted your message to Coruscant just like you asked, and then we came here to rescue you. Good job.
Yes, good pick, man.
Fantastic. That's fantastic, that line.
It's one of Ewan McGregor's best deliveries in the whole series.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the fact he looks up and he's just withering and he's just like, good job. And then he just kind of almost half turns away, just like, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
You're rubbish. I hate you. Yeah. When he starts saying that, it's just like...
He's going to be on the buses for some reason.
I'd imagine it just like, this take one. He nails it on take one, and they're just like, that was brilliant, you. And then he's just like, I hate you. He's like, oh, no, he's ruined it. Cut. Any others spring to mind?
Yeah, I feel like there's really obvious ones staring me in the face.
I really like Yoda's... Truly, the bit about the whole children basically helping him find Kamino.
Yeah,
the Lost Planet Master Obi-Wan has. How embarrassing! I just find that really adorable.
It's what endearing.
Yeah, I just like the idea that like that's actually a really nice school to be in, despite all the kind of dogmatic stuff. It's like they just have a really good time there. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a school advisor, so don't even get a sense of what their lesson plans are.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you think about that, right? When he walks into that room, they're all just blindfolded.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird thing, right? They're playing with their little training lightsabers, and I think, if I'm right, I'm pretty sure I remember that correctly.
Yeah, they've got training lightsabers. He
comes in, they're just playing with training lightsabers.
They've
and
got training spots, haven't they?
It'd just be amazing if Obi-Wan came in to speak to Yoda, and all the kids are blindfolded, and Yoda's just like, lounging out in board shorts or something. Yeah. Like, just because all the kids are blindfolded, he can just get away with it.
Just reading what Saber, yes.
Saber trader.
Yeah.
He's just having a little sort of nose through a magazine.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's pulled out a deck chair somehow. Yeah. It's like, no, there's no room for it. There's no stand or anything.
Yoda, is that a bifter? Trying to think. Again, I feel like there's like so many just kind of staring me in the face, but nothing immediately. I feel like Attack of the Clones almost has the most stilted script, to be honest.
It has its moments for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy some death sticks? No. You don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks.
Yeah.
I want to go home and rethink your life. I want to go home and rethink my Mouse from Matrix.
His other film.
Absolutely, his other film, yeah. I don't know if he maybe did TV work after that. Seems like the kind of thing
I have no idea, but I'm happy wherever he is.
Likewise. Yeah, I'm sure, gets to be in two of the coolest films of all time, so.
Yeah, totally.
Something Star Wars and The Matrix. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty good. I don't know anyone else has managed that, so that's pretty cool.
No, I guess not.
No.
Hugo Weaving never made it into Star Wars. More's the pity.
Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't it be, though? Fantastic.
He's in Mortal Engines, so it doesn't count.
No, it doesn't, because it's not the same film or franchise.
Marvel.
He has done Marvel, that's true. But again, not the same film or franchise, so it doesn't count.
Damn it.
Yeah, he's been in some arguably epic stuff. Lord of the Rings, Marvel, technically DC.
Oh, he's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. He's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I say technically DC because of V for Vendetta. It's Vertigo.
Yes.
Counts.
Yes.
It counts.
It does. Yeah.
So there you go. Keanu's done it. Keanu has done DC and Matrix.
There you go, but not Star Wars. And I don't get it. Let's keep him out of it.
That's fine. He just seems like a nice bloke. I think it's just everybody just likes him. He's quite wholesome.
I'm sure he's a lovely chap.
He's breathtaking.
I feel like I missed a meeting about Keanu Reeves.
I think you just don't spend enough time online, maybe.
That's not a factor I'm willing to change, to be honest with you.
No, fair.
Yeah.
Any other lines? Any other
lines of dialogue from Taco? Yeah, it's not a movie whose dialogue I remember fondly.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, it's got the sand speech. It's got
yep. Oh yeah.
I've murdered them all like animals. There's no. I think Good Job is brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, I like the exchange between Django and Obi-Wan, but there's none. There's not ones I quote a lot. There's not ones that have stuck with me.
No.
I think so. By default, I'm going to go with Good Job as well. I think actually.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to end up in agreement on that.
Cool. So, Revenge of the Sith is next.
We on that already?
Oh, okay. Sorry, no. Animated Clone Wars. So up front, right. I'm going to have to recuse myself from this one because I can't remember that film as we've established. So this is going to be all you, buddy.
Okay, cool.
Favorite character?
Ahsoka's got to be Ahsoka.
Okay, I don't remember her being that endearing in that film. I feel like she got built up in the Clone Wars TV series.
She did, but at the same time, I quite like annoying characters. I don't get people who say they hate Jar Jar or they hate C-3PO because they find them really annoying.
That's the point.
My attitude is, yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
That's great. And I think Ahsoka was supposed to be whiny and a bit bratty and really ruffle Anakin's feathers.
Yeah.
And that was why she was good. And it was a dynamic we'd never seen before. That was the first time we'd had any indication Anakin had ever had a Padawan.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It was a canon changer.
Yes.
It was great. I love what Ahsoka grew and became as well, but I do think she stands on her own in that story too.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I say, I never found her particularly endearing, but as you rightly point out, that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
much like Jar Jar in the prequels and C-3PO in most of the films.
Yeah,
I think they overdo it a bit in Episode 2 because
3PO.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes, yeah. I think I've mentioned before. I'm convinced those jokes are written for Jar Jar.
Quite possibly. Yeah, I think that's entirely plausible.
Yeah.
Okay, so favourite character going with Ahsoka. Favourite scene. This is why I have to recuse myself.
Oh, in Revenge of the Sith.
Couldn't.
Oh, man.
No, Clone Wars.
Oh, Clone Wars.
Yeah,
okay,
this is why I have to recuse because I have no recollection of this film.
The vertical battle.
Okay, nice.
Got the ATT is actually, it's a battle between Republic Commandos and battle droids going up a cliff face.
Oh, that does ring a vague bell.
Yeah. I remember Dave Filoni saying we wanted a battle, and that was like, well, that's not been done before. So you have the ATTs walking up the cliff wall, and there's just this laser fire exchange going vertically. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite piece or use of music?
The music is mostly nothing really leaps out at me music wise. It's certainly not a soundtrack album I've gone back to all that much.
No.
So I'll have to pass on that one as well, I'm afraid.
Fair enough.
Nothing immediately comes. I'm sure there's great stuff in there, but nothing immediately leaps to mind.
Yeah, and my only recollection from that soundtrack is the beginning has like a little war theme that's kind of cool. But it's not it doesn't open with the Star Wars theme, which I thought was. I remember thinking, I don't know if I like that. But the theme itself is good. The one they use, totally. It's just not the Star Wars theme. But obviously, over time, as other films have done it, it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then favourite line, best of British.
Yeah, man. That's again, no real dialogue is stuck in my mind, unfortunately. So I think it's an enjoyable Star Wars adventure for me, but no, it's certainly not one I've seen as much as I've seen any of the others.
Sure. No, that's fair enough.
Maybe Rise of Skywalker I've only seen once, but...
Yeah, likewise, I say, not for lack of trying, but Christmas being what it was, it just wasn't workable, sadly. So, Revenge of the Sith, then?
Hey, one of the best ones.
Favourite character?
It's got to be one of the Darths, isn't it?
I mean, for me, it's Sidious. No question, hands down. He is. Ian McDiarmid is incredible in that film. I think I maintain it's one of the best Star Wars performances ever made.
Yeah,
ever committed to celluloid.
Totally.
Cellulose. No, celluloid. Yeah, I was right the first time.
Cellulite.
Yeah, ever committed to cellulite. Yeah. I don't know how they did it, like a brand, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, Palpatine for me is like the best character in that film. He is so good. And it's because he's a little bit hammy and a little bit OTT, but he's just the right amount to make it work. Yeah. It's just great. I just think it's fantastic. Favorite scene?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a hard road to home, man. This is never going to be easy.
Probably from when you get the spaceships going over Coruscant through to the Lars family's dead. That scene.
Okay.
It's a really good 2-hour scene there. I really like that one.
Yeah, it's a very good scene.
It's got to be Order 66, surely.
I would say Order 66 because it's brutal. That whole montage is brutal.
Carking love the Battle of Mustafar as well.
Battle of Mustafar is brilliant. Duel of the Heroes, is it called? The Battle of the Heroes?
I've been waiting my entire life for that fight.
Yeah, because we only ever heard about it like in the book, didn't we?
Odds and sods, yeah, nothing substantial. And I waited my whole life for that scene, man. It was great.
Yeah, it is. It's brilliant. It's a really great scene. But I say I'm gonna Order 66. I think has to edge it for me. It's just that whole montage is brutal, and it's in the best possible way. It's not just the Anakin killing kids, right? Mm-hmm.
It's the 501st stomping up the.
Yeah, it's the 501st stomping up the stairs. It's the Felucia montage. It's the, it's everything. It's just that whole, you just realize just how brilliant Palpatine's plan has been the whole time. And you can't help but admire his forethought in getting this stuff all lined up into place. It's just so well done. Mm-hmm. And like I say, Ian McDiarmid's huge part of that for me is making him, putting him front and center of that film and letting him just go with it and just kind of build a bit of the creepy kind of over the top smirks and the smirks and the silly facial expressions and everything like that. He's just playing at that point. Like he knows he's won. Mm-hmm. He knows everything that's, he's foreseen this kind of eventuality. Favorite piece or use of music?
It's going to be close between Battle of the Heroes, which is just, especially when it crosses over into Duel of the Fates as well.
Very good.
Or the Mon Calamari opera scene with the 12 fruit singing.
Oh, yes. That is great. I was about to say something else, but now I don't know if I can. What I was going to say was the very, very beginning of the film where you've just got the drums.
Oh, yeah.
With the battle scene going on, where it's just like the cruiser just sort of flying past, and then it's like the battle scene just kicks in.
Yeah.
That's really well done. But actually, I think the opera is so, again, it's subtle. It's not over the top, like super loud. It's not like, imagine how bad that scene would be if they're sitting down trying to have a conversation about Darth Plagueis the Wise, and it's the victory scene, the victory music from Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Like just how hard it would be.
Just taking him to see, figuring down in the modal nodes.
Exactly, yeah. I hear they've got a regular gig lined up in Tatooine. So, is that right? Yeah. Anyway, what were we saying about Darth Plagueis? I was saying... But yeah, I hadn't thought of that one until you mentioned it, but now I can't think of much else. Yeah, I think
okay, cool.
That is a good shout. Mm-hmm. Favorite line? It's going to be a Palpatine one again for me.
Maybe.
And save your wife from certain death. Mm-hmm. Because that whole delivery, combined with the smile afterwards, is when you start thinking... He knows he knows he's won. Mm-hmm. He's just dropped the bomb that's going to start he's just basically flicked the first domino with Anakin. And he's let on so many things just in that one scene. It's like it's not a risk, right? But in terms of, you imagine if there was any doubt, if there wasn't the Force, right? So he's put this plan in place, but there's no Force. So he doesn't have the foresight to kind of see this kind of panning out. He takes a massive gamble there in that situation. Yeah. Because he turns around and goes, I know that you've been dreaming. I know you've got a secret clandestine marriage. I know you've got an unannounced pregnancy. I know that your dreams are troubled by this. Mm-hmm. I know that it worries you. I know that you'll do anything to stop it. I know that the Jedi aren't going to help you. I've already told you that at the opera. And it's just all those things just kind of crescendo into one line and one smirk on his face. Mm-hmm. And if you compare it to the other lines later on in the film, the Battle of Mustafar is not there's a lot of things about the Battle of Mustafar which are sublime. The dialogue is not one of them.
Oh, really?
There's bits of it that are really good. I don't know if
it's the dialogue that works or if it's McGregor's performance makes it work.
I think it's the performance that is kind of carrying it, because there's some stuff that works okay, and then there's some stuff that just kind of, I think it gets swept along by the performances going on. But just things like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. I get what they're going for, and they're it's effective, but I think it's just a tiny bit like, do people talk that way, really? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, and a lot of the time with stuff like that, with dialogue being a bit kind of clunky and weird, you can totally see what they're shooting for, but it just doesn't always land. I think it's just one of those ones where it just doesn't quite work. The Palpatine thing, I'd say Papa Palpatine for this movie is Palpatine's movie for me. Like, obviously, you know, apart from Rise of Skywalker, where
he's all Sith, and it's their revenge.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know. He's all the Sith apart from the new one. But yeah, that would be my pick, personally. And I'm also struggling to think of any other good ones.
No, I just keep going to Robot Chicken, so I've left you some fresh cut daisies on the table.
Yeah. I remember
I've chosen one thing. I think it's great, but as you say, I think it's actually Ewan McGregor's performance carries that rather than the bare script.
I like the you were the chosen one line is like the highlight of that scene in terms of dialogue.
Yeah, okay.
And it's definitely not no.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
You know what that scene needs is Sam Witwer.
I mean, I'd like to say he's not the solution to all of our problems, but I don't think he would hurt.
I think it's certain. Well, what I mean is, I don't necessarily think it needs to literally be Sam Witwer, just like digitally reinserted.
Sorry, here I am, everyone.
But what I think you need, what I think you could have there that would kind of work just as well, if not better, is something kind of almost animalistic and guttural from Vader. Just like a scream of anguish or like a scream of anger.
Should have been Hayden screaming no that gets cut off abruptly as the mask's put down over the top.
Oh, that would work. That might work.
That was the moment.
Yeah.
Anakin was gone.
Yeah. I can see what you mean. Like, he's just kind of locked away inside that mask. Yeah, that could work. I say, just generally, I think that whole scene is like, again, it's like there's ways to do it that are just kind of, I feel like there's little Revenge of the Sith is a fantastic movie. It's one of my favourites of the whole thing.
Same, yeah.
But there's little tweaks I think you could arguably make that would make it work.
I think with the Vader pulling himself off the bench and stuff, they were very obviously drawing parallels to James Whale's Frankenstein.
Sure.
And that's a little too heavy-handed. I think the Frankenstein parallels there with the creator actually being the real monster behind it are there to be seen. I don't think they needed to be that hit home.
Yeah, again, it's just like you can tell when a film lacks that sort of, again, I keep saying subtlety. It's like talk subtlety with this bloody episode. But it is about, you know, just dial it back a touch. And we're only talking about the lightest of touches in these situations.
Yeah, totally.
For the most part, like occasionally there's one where it's just like, "Wow, you are just smacking us in the face with a joke spatula there." But
it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That just it still makes. Keep it light. All right. So we're moving to actually, Solo would be next, wouldn't it? Chronologically.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Solo, then. Favorite character?
It's got to be Han, surely.
I like Han. I like
Kira a lot.
I like Kira.
Yeah.
I really like Lando.
I like Jordan Voss. I like all of them.
It's a great film.
It's a really good film.
Yeah, it's really great. You know, to me, it's like, it's such a shame that I feel like the audience likes it way more than Disney thought they would. And that's fair to say.
I think there's still a chance. A lot of films get second chances due to home release a few years down the line. I wouldn't count Solo out yet.
No, I think that's fair. I don't necessarily think there'll be a sequel, but only because...
Yeah, there will be, in some format, there's going to be more Han Solo stories. So
I would say that's
what it goes.
Entirely plausible, yeah. I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
All right, so we have to pick one. This is the rules. Them's the breaks.
I'm gonna have to go Han. It's his story.
Yeah. Fine. I'm actually going to say for this one, I'm actually going Beckett.
Okay.
I really like Beckett in this film.
Same.
And I just find him.
Woody.
Is Woody? Yeah. I mean, I like Woody anyway. He has a really good knack for choosing scripts that just showcase him well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Rampart, despite his desires. Yeah, despite his insistence of the fact I haven't seen Rampart. Not for any lack of desire, but just even something like 3 Billboards Outside Epping, Missouri. Is it Epping, Missouri?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, 3 Billboards. Anyway, he's in that, and he's fantastic in that. Mm-hmm. Zombieland.
He's got very good taste in the scripts he accepts.
Yeah, he's got a good knack for it. He's got like the anti Steve Martin.
Yes.
Steve Martin had like atrocious taste in scripts for a few years.
McDowell Howard syndrome.
Yeah, just not the best. But I'm going to go Beckett because I just really like that character. I mean, there's so many candidates for this one. Like, let's say Kira's really good, Lando's fantastic, Han's really good. I would say actually I prefer Alden's Han than Donald Glover's Lando. Even though I really like Donald Glover's Lando, it seems like he's just doing a Billy Dee Williams impression exceptionally well. Yeah,
I have to agree. But Alden made it his own, and
I think Alden got a bit more creative rope. Who knows? But obviously, it's a film about establishing his backstory. So understandably, he can kind of take some liberty, I guess.
Yeah.
Favorite scene? It's got to be the Kessel Run, right?
The Kessel Run is that bloody shot of that Star Destroyer gets me every time.
Yeah, it's
just beautiful.
There's a lot to love on an aesthetic choice level in Disney era, to be honest. Like this Disney era's got some absolutely fantastic visuals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I say it has to be Kessel Run. Not least of all, just there's this scene, I've talked about it many times, but I'm going to do it again, so whatever. Because we're talking about stuff we like about these films, right?
Yeah.
Especially, we exceptionally like. There's a bit when they've done the Kessel, they've gone away from the Star Destroyer and they've gone into the Maelstrom, and the instruments get killed. And while they're waiting for everything to kick back into life, they're just in the darkness, but you can just see lightning crackling through everything, and it just faintly illuminates the sort of shape of the Maelstrom in front of them, and it's just so good. It's just such a wonderfully beautiful shot.
Yeah,
that it's just hard to. It's just hard to. I remember watching it in the cinema and just being like, "Wow, that is gorgeous." And it was just I remember that it doesn't often strike me on first viewing stuff like that. It tends to be second viewing. I can take because second viewing, obviously, you're not on guard for the plot. Yeah, you're able to just drink it in. And this is the only thing that's like it's a shame that I don't think I'll be able to see Rise of Skywalker again until home video release, because I feel like a second viewing would probably have been nice. It would have been nice to have. I don't imagine it would have changed my feelings on the film drastically, because as I kind of touched on around the time of the reviews, I had all the I knew the plot because I started off accidentally reading stuff, and then I just started going, right, I'm in for a penny now, so I would end up just reading more stuff, but. I because I'd read all that stuff, I did find myself like this. There's nothing really about this story that's like I already knew it. I didn't realize I knew it, but I knew it. So when it comes to the movie, I feel like what I would end up probably appreciating more maybe is the pacing, because then it's like you're not going to get the problem of the breakneck pace because you don't need to take as much in. So you can just kind of let it. I mean, that's almost certainly why people who go and see it the second time like it more.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's kind of inarguable, really. Maybe not inarguable, but it's on the list of things that are difficult to argue. Favorite piece or use of music?
Yeah, weirdly, I liked the trailer music.
Yeah?
It's just this kind of Western music add to it.
There's a whole aesthetic and there's this whole sheen over the top of Solo, which is like a Western thing. Yeah. It's really.
I do also like the Cloud Rider theme a lot.
Oh, that's great. Like an anime thing almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Very, for a Japanese sounding, yeah.
Yes.
Or samurai sounding, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. It's just really well. Again, it's just like really well executed. There's something about they've done a lot of experimentation in some of these films with different sounds and themes. Like, there's a lot of different instruments in Rogue One, particularly stuff on Jeddah. Mm-hmm. It's just a really good, again, just really well executed in execution, because that's how execution works. I'm going to go for the one piece of the soundtrack that John Williams wrote, but not because it's John Williams, because it's just the bit that's in the intro chase.
I know what you mean.
And it's just a really good theme. Mm-hmm. It's just got that kind of almost
kind of Indiana Jonesy sounding.
I was about to say Indiana Jonesy, exactly, and that's kind that's kind of what you want from Solo. Yeah. Is you want it to have that kind of Indiana Jones feel, because it's kind of you're doing young Harrison Ford, right? You need it to be similar to kind of the connective tissue that you have is Harrison Ford in those cases. Mm-hmm. Favorite line?
When Han just decides to try speaking Shriwook. It was like, how are they going to get past this? It's like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Just
make Wookiee noises at him. It was so much fun. I really liked that.
I'm going to say mine's not, a few of my lines have been like gag ones. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go for the one line in this film that has always kind of resonated with me as like, oh, this guy's not nice. Mm-hmm. Dryden Voss asks Han to bring him over the coaxium. Mm-hmm. And he says, oh, well, no, and Dryden Voss says, I never asked for anything twice, Han. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's just so beautifully malicious, and kind of drips with like, oh, this guy. Yeah. Oh, he's a wrong one, isn't he?
Yeah, I get that.
Goes without, it kind of, just so good. Mm-hmm. Just excellent.
Yeah, a lot of what I think Solo's humour is actually in the physical acting from Aaron Reich as well.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. And there's that whole line with the thermal detonator at the beginning. It's like, no, you just took a rock and made a noise. Yeah. So it's fun,
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. Yeah. That whole movie's just a really nice little romp.
It's such a fun film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah. Part of what I liked about Solo is I liked other people were getting what I'd gotten out of really good standalone novels.
Oh, yeah. Just like a fun story that kind of doesn't need to connect up beyond the obvious.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rogue One then?
Yes.
Favorite character?
Krennic.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, right?
One of my favorite Star Wars characters, yeah. He's nice fab. To have he is, but he's also whiny and annoying and petulant, but somehow still an enjoyable character.
Well, it's like, you were saying, like, he's the kind of the epitome of the opposite of what we're talking about, where it's like people can be right and be a tool about it. Well, actually, it's the kind of epitome of that, isn't it? He's not in the wrong, but he is. There's ways to do it that's like...
They were his achievements.
Yeah, not Tarkin's. Mm-hmm. But, that's office politics for you. Favourite scene? I think we know. It rhymes with...
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it? I was trying to think, is there anything else that compares?
It rhymes with Garth Laser, Boromir.
It doesn't. Sure.
No, it doesn't, no.
It's got to be. The Vader corridor scene, man, what a moment.
Yeah.
It's just beyond anything.
Yeah.
It's just spectacular.
Mm-hmm. How much of it do you reckon is an effort to sort of like make him dead hard again after New Hope? Kind of, he's a bit slow, obviously, because turns out Dave Prowse wasn't very good at fighting.
Oh, we're not worried about upsetting him. It's funny, no one's worried about upsetting him.
Because literally nobody is. Yeah,
I could take him by this point. I think
at this point for sure.
Yeah, just wave something shiny in his face. It's just flawless, that whole scene. And what Rogue One does very well is it makes Tarkin a better character.
Yeah.
It makes the Empire more evil. Mm-hmm. And it makes Vader scary again. And people were quick to kind of lay the blame for Vader you're not being scary at the prequels, and I really don't think it was the prequels.
No.
It was just that familiarity breeds contempt. You see an image of Darth Vader, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you probably see an image of Darth Vader once a week. His birthday cards, his balloons, his T-shirts, he's everything. Yeah, but I've seen a Father's Day card with Darth Vader on it, which is possibly the worst mixed message I've ever seen. And it was... Yeah, and it's just familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
You just get this Darth Vader's everywhere. And then there's that reminder that he's not a Beanie Baby. He is supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think that was what hit home.
Yeah, I think equally, like, you could make the argument that also stuff like Robot Chicken and things like that could make him more likely to be the butt of the jokes than the prequels. You know, I don't think anybody goes back and watches A New Hope and it's just like, that guy hates sand. I don't think they do. I just don't. I don't buy it.
I don't think it's at the forefront of their mind.
I don't think it's a thing. Like, I don't think it's something that, in all honesty, if people are kind of straight with themselves, I don't think that enters people's minds. Like, you know, I don't think they're thinking, oh man, like this is really. I would think I'd love this movie more if it wasn't for Attack of the Clones. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think people genuinely go through that. I think they go through that for Twitter purposes, as in like it's a thing they think about for comedic effect.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't actually genuinely enter people's minds when they're watching the film. I think it enters their minds when they're looking for something funny to say on social media, which is, you know, laudable. And people do very well out of very funny stuff. But, you know, yeah, I mean, exactly, right? I mean, and anybody who follows us, they do well out of it. But I think, it strikes me that it seems a little bit unlikely that the prequels had a massive effect. I think, like I say, far more likely is, like you said, sort of the 30 plus years of pop culture plus the whole, you know, he's been parodied and stuff and so on. It might be the critique of the prequels that's done it, but not actually the films themselves. Yeah. Kind of people making fun of, you know, whiny Anakin. It's like, well, you want to make fun of him, be my guest. I don't know if I would after watching Order 66, but, you know, maybe you're braver than I am. Favorite piece or use of music? Tough call, right?
I mean, Vader corridor scene is superb.
Oh, yeah.
There's kind of like a nice Diaz Irae part just gets repeated as Janerso's watching the hologram from Galen Erso. Yeah. As well, that's really kind of ramps that tension up just before the Death Star fires.
I think that whole scene with... as much as I love it, I sort of feel like the whole thing of like, I hate my dad to I love him now happens quite quickly. But I wonder if that's just a part of because the thing about Rogue One, it may be, I'd go as far as to say now as it could end up being my favorite Star Wars film of all time with a couple more with a couple more watches of the films, kind of to sort of get a sort of sense of perspective. There is a pacing problem in the first act.
And I wonder all over the place.
I wonder if it's just you come in at the kind of tail end of that, and it's just like it's ever so slightly too fast that you just kind of get that. You know, it doesn't quite feel all the way earned. But I think that is just genuinely because, you know, the first act is quite breakneck in comparison to the rest of the film. Whether that's true or not, who knows? I'd have to watch it again.
Not me, I'm an idiot.
Well, you know, like I say, you have your moments. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And I just find it weird if they did, to be honest. Yeah, strange. Favorite line?
Oh man, anything Krennic says ever.
Oh, it did. Oh, here's Lyra back from the dead. I like that one quite a bit.
Condolences.
Yeah, that's really good. It's just that whole, you know.
Ready?
Oh, look, here's Lyra back from the dead. Yeah. And it's that whole thing of like, he's not surprised in the slightest, and you can tell. No. It's just, I like that.
Aim. And 2-syllable fire.
Yeah. Fire. He's it's just so good. Krennic's just so good.
It's just constant bickering with him and Tarkin is just so good.
Exactly. Are we blind? Deploy the garrison.
Oh, he's just so wonderful.
He's just great in that film.
I do also quite enjoy Careful Not to Choke on Your Aspirations.
Yes, I know. By all rights, it shouldn't work.
Yeah, it's a piercing bore.
Exactly. Yeah. By all rights, it shouldn't quite work, but it kind of does, just because it's so.
Yeah, it's ham-fisted.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, get it because joke, and I just joke too. And, you get it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Rogue One.
Okay.
Now we're on to A New Hope.
All right.
And if I manage to succeed in my editing, we've only got there for the first time.
A little bit. This has been seamless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally didn't forget a film at all. A New Hope, favourite character?
I'm in Luke, realistically, I guess.
Yeah. I'm quite partial to Han in that movie.
Yeah, I get that.
He has an arc. And Luke has an arc as well, but Han's is a bit more fleshed out.
Luke's is hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is the optimist.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole original trilogy, Luke is the optimist, which is why he's kind of turning Last Jedi works for some people and really doesn't for others. But he is, throughout the original trilogy, Luke believes the best in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And always does.
Yeah. I mean, are we missing a trick by not including Leia? It's not that we're not including her, but
great in A New Hope. Yeah, Leia is great.
It's probably her best film of the originals.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I
suppose Jedi she's pretty good in.
Yeah, she does choke someone to death.
Exactly, and that's pretty impressive, really.
It's a Skywalker family trait by this point.
There is a bit of that too, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, does anybody just settle the differences? Just, normally here?
Jokey.
Jokey, walkie sky.
I'm going to stick with Luke, I think.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go with Han for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Favourite scene?
On A New Hope, man, there's just so many. Possibly, a bit out of left field, Obi-Wan's house. Because Alec Guinness is just superb in that scene.
Yes.
His performance in 1977 was so good, you're able to project bits of the prequels into it.
Yeah. There's just so much. He didn't know. He couldn't possibly have known.
He gave a performance that allowed you to throw an interpretation onto it.
Yeah. He is excellent in it. I mean, obviously Alec Guinness is
one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, he's esteemed for a reason. And a very good
absolutely. One. And but it's almost like with the advent of the prequels, his performance is so good, you're left going, did he know? He can't have done,
even though
George Lucas didn't.
Couldn't have possibly known. Yeah,
no.
But it's sort of like it'd be hilarious to find out one day that he gave out Guinness a script and he just read it over and went, "Ooh, well, better British with that one." Yes, the plot reveal in that one is just like, "Oh, I'm okay. Well, oh, right. Well, you throw me under the bus here, George."
Yes. Why does he use a sex line at the dinner table?
Not that script. Honestly. Obi-Wan's house is really good from a narrative point of view as well, because it's the first introduction to the Force we've had, right? In that film, and it's all in description only. But
obviously, do you get a Force choke before then?
He chokes him. Vader chokes him by hand. He's got him held.
Okay.
He's got him
I
held
wasn't
up.
sure if it's before the boardroom or not. I couldn't remember the exact chronology.
No, it's well before then.
Yeah,
I think.
Cool.
Yeah, because by that point, I'm trying to think. Or maybe it's not as far before then, but it is before. Mm-hmm. They've got Leia by this point.
Yes.
But, I don't know, now I say that, maybe not as far apart as I thought. A lot happens in that film in a short space of time. So maybe there's that. I'd have to watch it again. I say have to as like it's a chore, but, it's just finding the time more than anything. Favourite piece or use of music?
In New Hope.
Yeah.
It's got to be a cantina band, surely.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You know, you do sort of feel like they'd be able to hear each other talk better if there were some tube and throat singers just doing an opera.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, well...
It doesn't suit the vibe,
It doesn't have the vibe. Yeah, and you just find yourself going, like, just... People just sort of slowly turn to the bartender, just like, really?
Yeah.
So, I thought they were great. I saw them on a cruise. I thought they were brilliant. I'm going to go for... In the same way of, like, opening up the world using the stuff that's sort of said and not shown at this point. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what the name of the piece is, but it's when Luke's basically being convinced by the sort of ghost of Ben to use the Force.
It's Death or Trench Run, yeah.
Yeah, during the Trench Run, yeah. It's just part of the Trench Run theme. He just, you know, it's just like... Da, 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 da.
Okay, yeah.
That thing where he's just like, Luke, use the Force. Mm-hmm. And he said, you use the Force. Force, use it. I may be misremembering the line, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. But yeah, that whole thing where it's just like this sort of, the music tells a story of revelation and this story of kind of it washing over almost. And it sort of sweeps over Luke as he's like, man, like that wasn't just me imagining things when I heard his voice earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the second time he's heard it since that's happened. He's just like, no, this is real now. This whole Force thing. Because he's had little hints of it here and there, right? With things like the lightsaber, the training bit with the blast shield. Mm-hmm. But that's the first time. I think that probably is dawning on him. It's the first time he's not just imagining it.
Yeah,
it's definitely a thing that's happening to him, and he's just kind of having himself awaken to this whole new world. Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's not the first steps into a larger world. It is like he's being kind of He's like dipped his toe in for the first time.
Yeah, I got you.
So that bit for me is my pick. Favorite line?
Again, so many that have just kind of entered my everyday conversation. He excels at that, so.
That is a good one.
I troll that one out a lot.
Yeah. Evacuating a moment of triumph is it works its way in far more than it has any right to, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Which is strange.
Maybe as a gaming thing as well.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I mean, an Armada, it's ubiquitous.
Or indeed Nemesis.
Yes. Oh man, we need to do a games cast of that.
We should just play it again.
Yeah, totally.
Forget forget kind of how. Just like play again. Just any excuse. It's just fun.
Yeah, just hang out. Just chill us. Yeah, everyone in the world. Yeah, it's all good.
Blake as well. You like Blake? Blake's good at it. Blake's fun for that game as well. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Put it this way.
I mean, I actually GM'd a game of Nemesis. As people listen to the show, Nemesis is kind of an Event Horizon Alien type deep space horror game. Mm-hmm. And I just GM'd a game of it over Christmas and said to people, I know it sounds like it's going to be a full and easy co-op game, but I can guarantee you within half an hour you will be arguing.
Yes.
And half an hour later, I was just standing there watching them argue, and they slowly realised I was just smiling at all of them. I told you this had happened.
Yeah. Also, because it's like you're smiling because you're playing Nemesis, which is always always nice. Yeah, it's very good.
The best quote from A New Hope: "Hoku religions and ancient weapons no match for a good blaster at your side."
Yeah, that whole exchange is really good. I think it's also actually one of those things where, you know how you're saying like the performance is so good, the prequels make it better. That whole exchange is so good and so useful in the context of the films that The Force Awakens makes it better.
Yes. Because
it's like Han goes back, you know, you kind of, he's on the same ship he was all those years ago, and he just reflects back on what he was saying then, and it's all just, his point of view is just completely 180'd. Just completely changed his mind, changed his perspective on everything. And it's just knowing Luke being immersed in that universe is enough to just completely change his worldview. Yeah. And that's great. Favourite line. Have you got a favourite line? Sorry about the mess.
This is a good one.
It's just good, yeah. McClunky. Yeah. How am I missing McClunky?
McClunky. What a class act.
How could I miss that? Quite easily, it turns out, because, you know,
Yeah.
So how many times have I seen that film and it's never turned up? I've never noticed it. Never picked up on it once. Madness.
A diplomatic ship on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. I literally just saw you fly away.
There's something meme-worthy that actually is one of those ones that's very rarely explored about you are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yeah.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. Because again, it's world building.
Yeah.
Just the lightest of world building touches. Mm-hmm. But I actually think, sorry about the mess. I'm going to stick with sorry about this. It just nicely punctuates that whole scene.
Yeah. Better than McClunky does.
Yes.
Sure.
For damn sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Empire. We're moving on.
So what, best character?
Favorite character?
I'm in Bosk.
Bosk?
No, I'm
I was going to say, it's like, I like Bosk as much as...
But not an Empire.
As much as I like Bosk as much as the next chap, but it just seems to me
the next chap's Dengar.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Best character. Yeah. It's got to be Yoda, surely.
Yoda's fantastic in that film.
Yeah.
Because
do you know who plays Yoda in the radio adaptations?
I feel like Bob Holness, because he's in every radio adaptation.
It's John Lithgow.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, bearing in mind, so here's a kind of clarifying question, because I need to try and get in my head what the performance is like. Has Empire come out at this point?
Yes.
And is he doing a Frank Oz impression?
He is doing a Yoda impression, but it is his own take on it. He's not directly ripping off.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I've not heard it. I must see if I can get hold of.
I did get it from Audible, but I don't know if it's still available.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Yoda is a good pick.
I mean, I do love Lando as well.
I love it.
Lando's got guys with great character arcs.
Yes, yeah, and that's the kind of beginning of it, isn't it? And obviously he sort of 180s within the context of the single film, but I think that's just because he realizes that he's been sort of made to look a bit of a fool by by selling out Han and Leia and Chewbacca for protection, and then to find out actually it's occupation.
Yeah.
It's like, turns out these aren't they're wrong uns after all. Who would have guessed? And we're all like, oh, me.
Yeah.
But then I suppose we've seen him do all that bad stuff. So there's that. We sit watching Blow Up a Planet and stuff. So it's like, I mean, maybe news doesn't get to best spin that quick. Who knows? Favorite scene
in Empire. Wow, what a
tough call.
It's got to be the duel on Cloud City, surely.
Oh, this is so important, isn't it? Like in the context of pop culture as well. Like it's just one of the most iconic scenes in movie history.
The whole fight is amazing.
Yeah, there's almost no music as well. Actually, you don't realize it, I don't think, until until you watch it back. But I don't think there's a surprisingly small amount of music in that scene, and I think it works for that being the case. It's just great. It's just so good. Everything about it is just so good.
Yeah.
Favorite piece or use of music? Asteroid Belt. Just Falcon fly through the asteroid belt.
You're talking about things that the prequels or the sequel trilogy kind of reframe in the original trilogy. In that duel on Cloud City, he's got the line, Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Yes.
As Luke takes the high ground.
Yeah.
She jumps up to the next level up.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's I take your point. That's an interesting, it's one of those things they couldn't possibly have known. But it's a nice
possibly completely coincidental, but
it's a nice little touch nonetheless. And like you say, it's like a nice little thing that you can extrapolate from. Yeah, without much effort.
It's possibly totally coincidental, but it's I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see why. Asteroid Field for me, for the music.
Yes, yeah.
That whole theme is fantastic,
amazing,
and it's just visually stunning.
I would go with that, if not for one piece.
Okay,
the Imperial March.
Imperial March, yes, that's
is
really
one
good.
of the greatest pieces of classical music ever written. It's beyond Star Wars, that piece of music.
Oh yeah, that's taken on a life of its own,
It's
isn't it?
like heavy metal classical. It's just this rolling, thundering march that the world and his wife knows that piece.
Absolutely. Green Day's covered it. I mean, if
the asteroid belt deserves to take number one spot, and it would do in any film that didn't have it. But Empire Strikes Back is the first time the Imperial March is heard.
Yes,
so that's got to win by default for me.
If you think about just how many great pieces of music there are just in that one film alone.
Oh God, it's just an incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, that is one of the greats, all-time greats. Favorite line?
I don't believe it. That is why you fail.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good choice. I would be inclined to go for I Am Your Father. Mm-hmm. No, I Am Your Father. Just because of, again, if you're talking about like
pop culture impact,
gravitas, you think about it, can you imagine being in the cinema and seeing that? And then you're like 3 years until you find out if that's true or not. And at this point, you probably know it's 3 years.
Yeah.
Or you don't know when it is. Imagine Rise of Skywalker had ended on a cliffhanger without them telling us.
Yeah.
And then we knew that the next movie was at least 3 years away.
I had a conversation with my dad, Ian, from Fire When Ready, another child, emotionally 14. Because he's of an age where he saw Empire in the cinema for the first time. And I said to him, what was your reaction to that? And he said, he said, I'm not rightly sure. I said, I remember not being that surprised.
Okay.
But I couldn't really tell you why. And he then went away and had a chat with my mum. And my mum said, yeah, it's because the day before we saw my dad, her dad, my granddad. And he'd already seen it. And he said, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it turns out Darth Vader's Luke's father.
But what?
What? He's a.
Well said. Favorite. Oh no, we did favorite line, didn't we? That was what we just did.
Yeah.
All right, Jedi then. We're moving through.
Okay, favorite character from Jedi. I mean, does Palpatine take it again for you?
No.
It's going to be Luke for me again.
Luke. This is Luke for me. Yeah. See, Han has a really good arc in Jedi, and I love me some Palpatine. We know this, right? This is no secret. But Jedi Luke in Return of the Jedi was like I worshipped that character in the sort of ensuing years between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I was fanatical about Luke in Jedi, in Jedi sort of mode, was just like my favorite character in all of movies.
Yeah. I think I absolutely love. You want to talk about a movie that's full of character? Return of the Jedi is just full of character.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just an alive movie. Jabba's palace is great, and all the Ewoks are great. And it was. It certainly wasn't a tweet. It was something I was talking to someone, and they said it's Return of the Jedi is so full of life that some of these characters who don't do anything will be remembered beyond characters that do.
Yeah, like Akbar.
And 10 years time, that Salacious Crumb will be more remembered than someone like Rose Tycho.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that's already happening, and she's new.
And Dominic Monaghan's character, whose name completely, what was he called? Miri? And
exactly.
He's Tebow's much more. It'd be much more memorable.
Yeah,
part of it's the novelty of it being a puppet and being a monster or whatever. But sure. But the point I'm trying to make is Return of the Jedi is just such an alive movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's hard to. I think it's. I don't envy the filmmakers of today because I think also it's quite hard to just kind of get the character out of the films because it sounds wrong to say, but I'm going to kind of clarify as I go. But it seems to, I think the perception is because CG is so good now, everything's too easy, even though it's really, really not. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, people look at it and go, oh, well, you can do that. You can knock that really easily up with a computer. It's like, yeah, it still takes incredibly talented people to do incredibly complex and incredibly intricate work to make it work and look convincing. You think about the amount of work that went into making Tarkin work in Rogue One. Like, it's incredible. Like, the technical achievement, the performance, and it is a performance.
Oh god, it's a composite performance. It's amazing.
It's wonderful, right? And you just think about how difficult that must be to coordinate and to do effectively and make it work at the end and output something that's actually credible. And people speak about, because that could have gone so wrong. Mm-hmm. That whole thing could have been so unfortunate,
so limp.
Yeah, exactly. Limp is a good word for it. It was it would have been so easy to make that for that to happen. Yeah, and it didn't happen. What ends up happening instead is people talk about it as like me certainly. I admire the hell out of them for taking that leap. It's so ballsy.
Yeah, it really is.
And in the best possible way that it actually lands as well. They stick the landing on that. It's just fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah. But we were talking about Return of the Jedi.
We might just retitle the show Talk Rogue One at some point.
Yeah, maybe. So favourite character, we kind of done that bit. So it's a Luke thing. Favourite scene.
Main one, Aidan. Favourite scene. Oh, man. So many.
Yep.
I mean, the Sarlacc is great.
Yeah, that is a great bit.
The Rancor is amazing. One of my favourite monsters. Mm-hmm. No, it's got to be the throne room.
The throne room is excellent,
especially the full-on lightsaber fight between Luke and Vader.
Yeah,
because you get a glimpse of how powerful Luke would be if he went to the dark side with that, because he's not faster than Vader. He's not a better swordsman than Vader.
No.
He physically overpowers him.
Yeah, and he overpowers him. This is a guy who lifted a man off the ground and choked him out.
Yeah,
in A New Hope. Like, lest we forget.
They say it's not that he becomes a better swordsman. He is physically stronger than Vader if he turns to the dark side.
Yeah, exactly. It's just great. That is the scene I'd pick as well. I made it
scare me enough then. It does now.
Yeah, I realized that I made it sound like there was going to be. I would choose it, but there's no but. I would choose it. Favorite piece or use of music?
Exactly the same scene as he's battering Vader down.
Yes.
The music shifts into a minor key, but it's not. Luke is beating Vader, but the music is sad.
Yeah, because
the music's not downbeat.
He's on the precipice of oblivion.
Victorious. It is a tragic piece.
Yeah,
and John Williams gets Star Wars more than any other man on this planet.
I think that's fair to
possibly
say.
Even more so than George Lucas by virtue of being very involved, but that one step removed from it.
Yeah,
I think John Williams gets Star Wars like no one else ever has.
Mm-hmm. And I would be inclined to agree with that.
He absolutely nails that.
Yeah, it's wonderfully done. It's wonderfully executed, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I would second that completely. That is my pick too.
Mm-hmm. I love Jedi Rocks as well.
Oh, of course. I mean, who doesn't, right? Apart from anybody with ears. Favorite line. I have one. It's a bit of a small cut, but it's so. Mm-hmm. I can flesh it out in a way that I think.
Go for it.
Hey, it's me.
I quote a lot.
Yeah, so that's.
I have a GIF of it saved on my phone for again talking to Ian from Firewind Ready.
Yeah.
Whenever there's do you think you're going to get this done in time? Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
We've got a convention coming in a month. Are you sure we're going to get enough games? You're going to have to get all that painted up and ready in time to do it. Hey, it's me. So just have that on loop on that conversation.
Probably not. Probably not, but, you know, whatever.
I'll go up and break a twig.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but the reason I like it is because, and we've talked about this off air, you and I, in the context of the time we tried to get a Star Wars RPG campaign going.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where my character, who was a drunken Jedi master, who had escaped Order 66 and was just kind of hiding out for the most part. Occasionally he got the lightsaber out, but that was only in the context of the RPG.
Yeah, kind of a Don Quixote type figure.
Yeah. He performed this really wonderfully acrobatic move.
Yeah.
Swinging round a gun turret.
Yeah.
And he drops.
Speeder, wasn't it?
He drops onto a speeder, kicks the person, disarms them, and then the gun turret keeps going round and cracks me in the back of the head. And you, I think the way you said it was the reason you enjoyed it so much was not just because I got cracked in the back of the head, but also because it felt like a Star Wars moment.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, hey, it's me, followed by the twig, is it works out, but it's a Star Wars moment for that reason.
Yeah, totally.
It's like it goes into that sort of farcical or borderline farcical kind of stage of, you know, of Star Wars. And it's that there's that line of, you know, it's especially because there's a really great look that carry a mark exchange immediately afterwards, which is just like that's probably why we're a little bit uneasy, to be honest.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to precise why they're concerned, but the fact that he just says, hey, it's me, is like, that was it, wasn't it? That was why. How about you?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's not one of those movies that I just quote all the time without even realising, I think. Oh, man. Boba Fett's not got many quotes, has he?
No. Not in that film at all.
In this one, I think. Boba Fett, where?
Yeah.
That was like Peter Griffin slowed down, what you just did then.
Yeah, kind of. People listen to it on double speed. Let me know how it turns out. I don't know.
I feel it's probably Palpatine. Like, I am a Jedi like my father before me.
So be it.
Exactly.
Jedi.
So good.
It just drips out that venom. It's just, there's something about Palpatine and dripping venom.
That is my, yeah. Yeah.
My rejected Spider-Man villain as well.
Yeah.
Dripping venom. He's made of beef.
I think he's just called Carnage. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just a symbiote made of beef.
Yeah. Just like a scab. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Remember Toxin, anyone?
No. Any other Palpatine lines that sort of spring to mind?
It was fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh, that has got some venom.
That thing's operational.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, obviously, there's the meme-worthy ones, like It's a Trap.
Yeah. Can't find the screen.
It's incredibly iconic that, you know, that particular item is, you know, it's a trap. Who'd have thought, right? It's a weird thing. But, you know, sometimes things just tickle you. Like Ken Dodd.
Crazy illegal disclaimers.
He tickled people. That was his whole thing, wasn't it? He had the stick.
Yeah.
I said stick.
It was a reference I wasn't expecting.
No, indeed. That was kind of, I found myself going like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Brain.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brain. I'll have it. Yeah, whatever. Not a problem, I guess, turns out.
Where did we go after Return of the Jedi?
So favourite line we've done, Force Awakens.
Okay. Favourite character? I mean, Hux.
I really like Hux in Force Awakens. Yeah, I have a lot of time for Hux in Force Awakens. It's probably why the rest of the movie is so disappointing. The rest of the movies just for Hux just don't do him justice. It's such a shame. I don't dislike Rey, but doesn't particularly do anything for me. I think Poe is probably, of the new characters, I think he's the one I like the most from that particular film.
Oh, really? So that was the other movies sold me on him more. This one I was just Maverick in space.
Yeah, I think I just enjoyed he was the one who was kind of delivering. I think, there is that. But I think also he got some of the better comedic lines and actually made them work because the thing with my relationship with the sequel trilogy and humor is complicated at best and contemptful at worst.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think Poe Dameron is kind of the one who gets the who gets the bulk of the good lines and actually does a credit, a serviceable job with the material he's been given. I think that's very crucial to his character, is that sort of sense of humour, the sort of withering lines and who talks first? You talk first, I talk first. But then as the films go on, the humour gets a bit sort of, for me, it kind of gets a bit...
Marvelly.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it feels very marvelly, and if people like that, then great. But I want
if that's for Zeitgeist, then
I don't necessarily want that from Star Wars. I want something.
I get both. I understand both sides.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no, what's the word? It's not like it's a bad thing either way.
Yeah. No, I understand both sides.
Yeah. So, favourite character. Having said that, Finn has a really great, really promising arc.
This is Finn's strongest movie out of the three.
I think it's such a pity to me that he's not given a more interesting story as we go along.
Yeah, I kind of I didn't want to get too much into this, although I should have. I kind of wish with Rise of Skywalker when he met the other stormtroopers, they'd have gone, you're effing 287, there are stories about you. You're the one who inspired all of us.
Right.
Rather than just going, oh, yeah, that happens everywhere.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There was supposed to be, there was rumblings, I think, at one point that Finn was going to lead some sort of uprising. And that would have been an interesting kind of resolution to his arc. He's the one who breaks his programming. Yeah. And then he's the one who ends up sort of, inspiring the others to kind of do the same.
Nicely Rey's line in Force Awakens about there are stories about what happened to true all of them.
Yeah.
And that was made Finn more of like, I don't want to get too much into what
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. It's purely just like, it would have been cool rather than like they must do this because obviously we got what we got, right? It is what it is.
I enjoyed. So, it's just a passing thought.
Yeah,
anyway,
fair enough.
Force Awakens.
So, favourite
Hux for me, I think.
Okay, I'm going to go Finn, actually.
That's cool.
Go for a slight change of aim, slight change of vector.
I get it.
Favorite scene?
I mean, I do like Hux screaming like a space Nazi.
I love it. The space Nazi thing is overblown, and like I say, there's no subtlety there whatsoever with the space Nazi thing. Man, but in that particular scene, it works exactly as it should. I get what you mean, and it occurred to me recently that they actually make the First Order out. Disney somehow made the First Order out to be Nazis more than they actually made the Red Skull out to be a Nazi. Which is impressive, right?
It really is.
Because he's literally a card carrying.
Literally Hitler's right hand man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like mad.
It should have been. Yeah.
Well. I
understand the issues of as a mainstream Hollywood movie compared to what you get away with in the 60s.
Sure, but I was just about to say, let's not just go into what they should have done differently about World War II because we could be here all night. So favourite scene. So Hux, yeah. Thing about the Hux scene, why it can't be my pick is because I have I have some minor issues with the way the destruction of Hosnia's system is done. We don't get nearly enough information about why that's bad beyond the obvious of like 5 planets are dead. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of, what's the impact there? It doesn't feel like there's actually much done in the way of explaining why that's a terrible thing. You know what I mean? Not a film breaker by any stretch, but it's the reason. But the reason it can't quite make the cut.
It's also an odd decision to make Osnian Prime look so much like Coruscant and then decide it wasn't Coruscant.
Yeah, it's odd.
I wonder if it was supposed to have been Coruscant at one point and then a last minute rewrite.
Maybe I did remember reading somewhere that in the new canon the Rebels just didn't bother with Coruscant as a capital; they just skipped it completely. Okay, don't know why. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. I may be talking out my tree there, but, who knows? But that was something I remember reading. I don't know where I picked it up. Just osmosis. Yeah. Star Wars osmosis. That's it's like Star Wars oxygen. Yeah. But it's just rumors and stuff.
Just kind of hearsay, yeah.
Yeah. Favourite scene, I'm going to go for... See, again, every time there's a scene, I'm just like, yes, that one. Then I remember a bit more of it. Like, the bit where Han and Chewie board the Falcon is then followed by the Rathtar scene.
Yeah.
Which is not the greatest, which is a shame.
No, it's quite prequel-y feeling compared to the rest of the film.
It's a bit comparatively silly compared to the rest of the films trying to strike a nostalgia tone, but it almost feels like it's trying to strike a nostalgia tone of the wrong trilogy.
Yeah.
The one they were sort of consciously trying to avoid until going for Papa Palpatine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, I'm struggling. It's not because the scenes are all bad by any stretch, far from it. It's like the problem is nothing is quite perfect. I think the first scene with Snoke.
Okay.
Second one, actually. The second one, and I'll tell you why. The second one shows you that Kylo Ren doesn't like being seen maskless. Because there's that really wonderful performance that... So Snoke and Kylo are talking, and it's after Kylo's tried to probe Rey's mind and been resisted. And he goes to Snoke and sort of, he's basically protesting that he didn't mess up. It's that something unexpected happened. And Hux walks in, and you see Kylo just like spin around sort of sheepishly, and you realise actually it's because his mask is off and he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the fact that he's exposed because he's not wearing his covering. Kylo Ren stopping a blaster bolt.
It's nice.
Is really cool. That whole first scene on Jakku with Lord Santekka and the Church of the Force is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Favorite piece or use of music?
Race theme.
Race theme is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like March of the Resistance as well. When it's like when they're coming on Takodana and they're skimming across the water.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you realize that Poe is actually alive, even though they... I sort of feel like they could do a slightly better job making that clear to the casual fan.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's a bit convenient. And I wonder if they're going to go down the road if he was a clone pilot, if it was just clones of Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
But no, it just turned out it was a bit convenient.
Yeah, fair enough. They did have a scene, apparently, in the original film that got cut, that got trimmed down.
Novelization, yeah.
Yeah, that where he was picked up.
Exactly as he says, he was thrown clear and just...
Yeah, and just found his way back via...
his way back.
Constable Zuvio, I think. I'm trying to remember now. Favourite line?
Oh, really? You're cold?
Oh, that's great. That's Not How the Force Works is one of my favourites. Just the whole... He's just... Especially because earlier on in the film, he's the only connection they have to the stories of old. And then he's realised... It's almost like he's realised he's created a monster by sort of filling their heads with all the stories, because now they're just... Now Finn's saying things like, we'll use the Force, just throwing it in there just like it's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can make that argument.
It is.
But yeah, certainly the sequel trilogy as well, because it is just like Potter magic in some respects. But that whole thing of like, it's almost like he sort of realised, oh no, I've just like, now I've not told him enough about the rules.
Yeah.
But then, like I say, you realise we're in the sequel trilogy. Doesn't matter that much. But yeah, I think that's one of my, that whole thing of like, the galaxy is counting on us.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
just
Han's
the way,
got a lot of good lines.
The way Han just delivers the word sanitation.
Yeah.
That shouldn't work. It has no right to work. It's just such an innocuous word, but it's just the way he says it with just, oh, you didn't just bring us here for this because of that.
Got a garbage trash compactor.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What's yours? So yours is, oh, really? You're cold?
Yeah, I did. That broke me.
Yeah.
I think.
That's good.
C-3PO's entrance is amazing.
That is wonderful.
It's like amazing. Mm-hmm. It's just peak 3PO.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Last Jedi.
Okay.
We're almost through the films.
Favourite character in Last Jedi?
Might be Kylo Ren for me.
Might be Luke again for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be Luke again.
Okay. I can't quite swing with the Last Jedi Luke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Right.
but Kylo would be my pick.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo's really good in that film. I don't really have much more to say about it than that.
No, that's fair. No, it's definitely his film.
Yeah. Favourite scene?
Oh, it's got to be a Praetorian Guard fight, surely.
I do like that. It is a hard one to top.
Also, Luke teaching Rey to feel the Force is amazing.
That is
all that macro shot stuff is amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's also one of the bits of humour in the film that works really well. That whole thing of like, I feel can you feel it? That's the Force. Can you feel it? Yeah, that's the Force. I feel it. Yeah. Slap. They do a good job of making Rey, for me, much more kind of relatable and much more interesting as a character in Last Jedi, because she's a bit like, they make her not so much, they don't make her look weak, because I don't think there's a point in the trilogy where that happens, but they make her look human. They make her like humanize her way more, I think, in Last Jedi than Force Awakens. I think it's a much better treatment in that respect.
Yeah.
She's just kind of eye-rolling snark machine in Force Awakens.
I've just realised that nothing about Episode 9 answered any of the questions raised by her Cave of Evil dream sequence, which actually makes me hate that sequence even more now.
Huh. All right, well. So Praetorian Guard is your pick?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favourite piece or use of music?
I'm not a fan of the Last Jedi soundtrack. It's
the greatest hits of Star Wars.
It is, yeah, but I don't know if there's any real standout moments in the Last Jedi soundtrack.
I think Leia's theme, or the Carrie Poppins thing aside, the use of Leia's theme there is beautiful.
It's very good.
And it's also, thing about Last Jedi, right? This is something we both agree on. It's a beautiful film.
Oh, visually it's superb.
Yeah. And so when there's a lot of really nice visuals alongside musical cues and alongside sound effects and all that stuff, and Leia's theme in that scene is like bang on. Favorite line?
I assume it's raw power only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
Okay.
Who do you think that's referring to?
I mean, I don't think it's Palpatine, even though you could potentially draw that connection now. I think it's Kylo Ren.
See, I did at first thought he was referring to the evil he'd seen in Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
On subsequent viewings, I've come round to the power he sees in himself.
Okay.
The raw power of the will it took to try and kill Kylo, to kill Ben while he was sleeping. The raw power he saw battering Darth Vader down on the Death Star.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting take, that. Trying to think favourite line. Because that's the one where they go too heavy on the humour.
It's a little that way.
Having said that, Nobody's from Nowhere. Jakku. Okay, that's pretty much nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody from Tatooine saying that is a little bit rich, but
he's been across the whole galaxy by that point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
he's obviously had adventures and stuff.
Jakku is pretty much nowhere, you sure? Because it's where the last massive civil war ended.
Also, where super secret Empire research base.
Well, I suppose it does kind of work in English. Where are you from? Nowhere. Nobody's from nowhere. Naseby. All right, yeah, I guess that is pretty much enough.
Yeah, population 47.
Yeah.
48 when I had people around. Trying to think if there's any others. See, Snoke is not. There's no really good Snoke. This is the thing, you sort of hope for like a really good line or something from Snoke or somebody like that, but there's just nothing for him, is there?
Do you think you got him?
That's a great line. That's a really good shout.
It's like a Krennic line almost.
Yeah, it's the one. It's probably one of the few Hux lines in that film that works. If we're talking about like micro scenes, you know, like really on a really small, on a really macro level, it would be the Hux going for the gun.
Yes,
that's just the fact that it was ad-libbed as well. That's okay. I really like that.
Yeah, because that's cool. Films are collaborative efforts. I think that's cool.
Totally. I think the fact that if that's true, that sort of says that Domhnall Gleeson at least kind of got what the character was about in a way that I think that the trilogy didn't quite land. I say I'm really struggling with lines. I have to go with something like a Luke one or Rise of Skywalker. This might be a hard one because obviously we both only said it once.
Yeah.
Favorite character. I can't quite get to Babu Frick, even though I love Babu Frick.
Oh man, yeah, it's got to be Ben Solo.
Ben Solo, not Kylo.
No, okay, we're going to play that card, are we?
Well, they're literally two different characters in the film, as in they look different and behaved and move differently.
Yeah, I get the it's a Star Wars thing. Darth Vader and Anakin are different people.
Yeah.
Probably Ben Solo.
As much as I can't quite get to Babu Frick, I'm struggling with any other character who's like really kind of struck me as hard as like I just love him. So cool. I like Zori Bliss.
I thought 3PO was really good in it, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people are really positive on 3PO in this film. I liked him all right. I didn't, it struck me that kind of I didn't feel any more strongly or otherwise than any other film.
I think you're certainly the funniest he's ever been.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. But I say, like Zori Bliss was one that was kind of like, oh, I could see how she could be cool in like in a comic or a Disney Plus
standalone comic.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully we get one.
Yeah.
Favorite scene?
Oh man,
the trouble is the problem is picking one. Just because
I love Babu Frick.
Yeah.
So any scene he was in was cool. I did like the rebellion ships turning up at the end.
That was cool in the sort of apparently there's like 4,000 on that screen.
It's nearly as big as my Armada collection.
Well,
yeah,
this is true.
Anything else? I loved the passing a lightsaber to Ben.
See, for me, that opens cans of worms and then passes them across the galaxy. But there was the shrug was cool afterwards. Just the kind of like, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to die.
You're second tier characters,
Exactly, yeah.
You're not even named.
Yeah, that's a shame. The old Knights of Ren. They are cooler than the films treated them, I feel. There's so much like potential for coolness there. And in the end, they end up standing sort of looming a bit, which is, fine if that's what you want to do, I guess. I'm struggling with favourite scenes.
Oh, you loved the bit where she got the knife out and lined it. I think it's a Death Star.
Oh, love the so well thought out.
I loved it for all reasons you didn't like it.
Yeah, it's very kind of Goonies and silly sort of level of stuff. And I get I can see why people like that. But for me, that's just like, it requires a certain amount of like suspension of disbelief that I don't feel like it's earned.
Okay.
I actually did like
the Han Solo scene.
Here's the thing, right? I was watching a critique of the film the other day, and it was a good critique. Not least of all because it pointed out a load of stuff I hadn't spotted. When I came out of that film, I was like, oh, what was nice was that Han forgave Ben. Nope, Ben forgave himself using Han as a proxy.
Yeah. But
like that to me was like, oh, I'd never really picked up on that. It doesn't make me feel any different about the scene, but I realized I hadn't spotted it at all. That hadn't registered to me that was a thing. I thought just in my head, for some reason, Han Solo's memory, like again, it was a memory and it didn't occur to me. I didn't make that connection, even though I was sitting there going, don't be a Force ghost, don't be a Force ghost, don't be a Force ghost. Because that would also, speaking of cans of worms, that would, a lot.
So one of my friends said he kind of wish he'd been a Force ghost to kind of hit home that the Force is kind of in everything. And I said I preferred it being a memory because it was kind of Ben talked himself round.
Yeah. Rather
than being a Deus Ex Machina of forgiveness. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think it just, I don't know. Let's say it didn't do anything for me one way or the other, to be honest. Just, it was what it was. And, it was just something I just watched this critique and I was just like, oh yeah. I'd not made that connection. Trying to think, have I got any other scenes that that work. Again, it's like a especially well thing because you're just kind of elevating one scene above all others. I really love Lando in this.
Yeah, he's at the time of his life.
The whole thing of him with where his entry into the film was a really great scene.
Peak Lando, yeah, that was really good.
Not least of all because it was like, even though he was masked and stuff, you're just like, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah,
that's too cool. Favorite piece or use of music?
I didn't pick up on any music, I'm afraid.
No, I think
only having seen it once, and I've not listened to the soundtrack. In isolation.
I think they had the main Star Wars kind of sweep when the ships all arrived. Although again, also you had
using it for like the Mongolian throat singing for Exegol.
I think they are. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I feel
it'd be my job for tomorrow is to listen to a soundtrack album.
There you go. I feel like they do, but I'm not 100% sure. Just can't think. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they do something along those lines. There's not. I certainly don't remember a big theme playing throughout. It was something very, very subtle that was only barely there.
Yeah. Okay.
Favorite line. You really like that 3PO one, don't you?
That you didn't ask my name, but I'm okay too, or something like that. Yeah, it just broke me. I did want to take your hand, Ben Tend.
Okay. And maybe for me, maybe it's just Babu Frick going, hey.
Yeah.
It's just there's
something. A Spice Runner didn't used to be a stormtrooper.
Yeah, there's something about that. There's something about that sound effect.
Yeah,
that he's almost like drunk.
He sounds like the P-Bugs from A Bug's Life.
But say he just sounds like a drunk version.
He does, yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry I missed your baseball game.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed your space battle, kids.
Yeah, no, he's adorable, and I want him to have his own series.
I would settle for a toy.
No, 1980s Miami. He runs a detective agency.
I don't know if that could carry a whole series.
A TV movie, maybe.
That works. Yeah, I could go with that. Like
Michael Wincot's on board already.
Glove puppet. I'd buy a glove puppet at Babu Frick.
Yeah. I mean, that would help you a disciplinary meeting, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Because I keep buying glove puppets. There's that. I'm struggling with favourite lines again, and it may be, like I say, just because one of the most entertaining bits of the film is the nod, the shrug of Ben Solo, which is not a line. It's just a really great physical performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I did kind of get some satisfaction from A Jedi's Weapon Deserves More Respect.
Yes.
Because that's just quite funny.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think that might have to be it. Jedi's Weapon Deserves More Respect.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if you see it as like not a reference to Ryan directly, it's like a reference to his character change, his mindset changing since death.
Yeah.
So either way, it's like it's cool.
This thing's killed a lot of children, right?
You might be able to smell if you. Yeah. No, you know what? Don't. It's just nobody's going to be happy with that. So that's all of them. We've done all the movies.
Wow, it feels like there's more.
No, they've literally done them all.
Oh, holiday special.
No, no, we're not doing that. I'm tempted to say
Jefferson Starship to get referenced.
Bearing in mind we're at 2.5 hours or so, I'm actually half tempted to say let's bank those half a dozen questions. I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Okay.
I'm going to bank them, and I'm going to invite the listeners to send us their favourites. Okay. You can pick one film. I appreciate that it would take a long time to write this out.
Yes.
Because we're talking about 12 films. So, if you want to pick one, just pick your favourite or pick a particular one. Maybe, send a couple of bits from Rise of Skywalker. Maybe you'll help us jog some memories. Or just say, it doesn't have to be that one. Just pick a film and send us your favourite character, your favourite scene, your favourite piece of music or use of music, and your favourite line. And podcast at emotionally14.com is the place to do it. So hopefully you've enjoyed our lists. That's the point of this this is the point of this, right? It's to have a bit of fun talking about stuff that's, that makes us smile about Star Wars, particularly more than other bits. Mm-hmm. Purely the purpose of this. I say it's not. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Star Wars Twitter's not a fun place to be at the moment, because there is an argument to be made there. Mm-hmm. But I've always envisaged Talk Star Wars as a place where you can come to get away from that stuff, and certainly we don't participate in the Twitter dramas, and we don't get involved in the back and forths, and we're not aggressive with our.
I've got more important things to do.
Well, quite, but also, that's never been the sort of the ethos of Talk Star Wars, and that's something I've always kind of tried to keep hold of. There's things that have changed over time, obviously. Makeup of the cast, because then we realise it's an audio show. Why do you bother? I need the rouge, apparently. Who's decided that? I don't know. But, over time, the certain things about the show have changed. But one of the things that I've never seen as changing is this should be a place where, you can come along and listen to Talk Star Wars, and you can disagree with what we think, right? And people do. I know this because I've spoken to them. But you're never going to be, or certainly I'd be very surprised if people could find evidence of times where we've gone after people, or I don't know, said people are kind of lesser for having any points of view. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between not agreeing vehemently on a decision, on a creative decision or something along those lines, and saying like it makes you a bad person, because it doesn't. Disagreeing with us does not make you a bad person. And in many ways, it might be laudable in the right circumstances. It's hard to say. Yeah. But the point that I'm trying to kind of get to is, Talk Star Wars has always been intended to be a nice place to come and just hear what people think about Star Wars. And, we've always been open to, our inboxes are open. It's like, if you listen to this show and you think that you've never heard people disagree with us, I'm sorry to inform you haven't listened to this show. You've listened to something else by mistake. Mm-hmm. And how you've got here in this particular instance, I've no idea, because surely you would think it would just continue in that same vein. But what do I know about technology, eh? In any case, get on this whole positivity thing. I mean, Neil obviously on Twitter is a guy who champions that stuff, and I admire that very greatly. And it's fun to talk about the things we really like. Mm-hmm. And as I say, as we've talked about before, it would be weird for somebody to listen to these shows, of which there are now nearly 200, and think, "Oh, these guys hate Star Wars." It's like, yeah, you don't do 200. An average of probably 300-400 hours of Star Wars content if you don't like the medium. So if you don't like the franchise, you just don't. It just doesn't work that way. So if you want to play, now obviously you've just heard us go for 2+ hours on on our favourite bits from all the movies. If you want to play, then send us your favourite 4 things. So character, scene, music, line. And send them to podcast@emotionally14.com with Talk Star Wars as the subject, so we know who it's for. And we can read yours out next time. And that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Be lovely. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Get your thoughts out there. Be great. Why would you not? So, that'll do it for this week. As I say, it's been a long show. We, got a good amount of conversation out of this one. I think we've had some good choices. Obviously, I would say that because half of them are mine, and by definition, I like them. But if you've enjoyed the show, whether it's this one or any previous episodes, and you want to subscribe and you haven't already, first of all, odd choice, but I'll go with it. But the second thing I'll say about it is it's really easy, because all you need to do is go to iTunes, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or any podcast feed catcher and look for Talk Star Wars, and you'll find us. We've either got a Stormtrooper logo, or we've got a really cool Rise of Skywalker one in the background. It really depends on which service you provide, because I haven't figured out a meaningful way and a reliable way to update them everywhere all at once.
Fair.
So Talk Star Wars is everywhere. Talk Star Wars is everywhere except Pandora, because that's where Avatar is set. So, there's beef. Because of that one After Dark Side all those years ago. But You can find us on all the podcast catchers. Like I say, we're on YouTube on Emotionally 14's YouTube channel if you prefer to do your podcast listening that way. And you can also, if you want to listen to the episode a couple of days before and you want to get by without the ads at the front, at the top and bottom, and maybe in the middle, depending on how easily it's done on this episode. Probably if there's any episode where it's easy, it might be this one. Then you can go to patreon.com/talkstarwars and donate as little as $1 a month to unlock the ad-free feed, and you get the episodes on a Saturday instead of a Monday UK time, because obviously we're in the UK, as you may have guessed from our hilarious accents. Brad, if people want to follow you on social media, let's say, where might they best achieve that?
The easiest place to do that is you can follow my other Star Wars show on Instagram, which is at FireWindReadyUK, and I think it's the same handle on Facebook as well. If you want to follow me, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at RealBradHB, which stands for Humber Buns. And if you're feeling so inclined, you can, of course, buy my books on Audible and Amazon.
Yes, you can. And you can do so by visiting talkstarwars.co.uk, where you get the show player thing, or emotionally14.com on a Monday, where you get the show player thing with a little blurb. And there's a link there that you can go and you can get Brad's books directly. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision, and I'm also, there's Talk Star Wars and Emotionally 14 social medias, so Facebook, Twitter, at Emotionally14, at Talk Star Wars. And you can, as I say, you can email in to get your questions done otherwise, or you can use DMs or whatever. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. 8 wonderful outlets making quality content with a Star Wars bent. In addition to Talk Star Wars, you get the Tumbling Saber podcast as part of that Commonwealth, Generation X-Wing, the Nerd Room, Rogue Squadron podcast, San Diego Sabres, Retro Inc., and the Sandcrawler cast. All fantastic shows, all well worth your time, and you can find all of them on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. I keep feeling like I'm going to forget something, but I'm sure if people listen back and think, oh, I'm missing this bit of information, previous episodes have it. I probably just missed it off this time. Otherwise, it's probably nothing and I'm overthinking it because, Kel Surprise, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars this week. We hope you've enjoyed episode 197, a few of our favourite things about Star Wars. And we'll see you next week for episode 198, where hopefully we'll be reading some of yours and also get into this other half a dozen questions that I banked because, like I say, long episodes and I want to get to bed eventually. Cool. So thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars this week. We will see you again next time for episode 198 as we creep ever closer to that 200 mark. And until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, may the Force be with you.